The divorce papers slide across the marble table, while champagne bubbles still cling to crystal flutes downstairs. Vivian Hale stands frozen in her wedding dress, white lace heavy against her skin, diamonds cold at her throat. Her husband of 6 hours, Damien Voss, the man whose name makes grown men flinch, stares past her toward the city lights bleeding through floor-to-ceiling windows. "The marriage served its purpose," he says without inflection. "My lawyer will contact you in the morning." Behind him, armed guards block every exit. She realizes with sickening clarity that love was never part of the transaction. She was a signature on a contract, a pawn repositioned to stabilize crumbling alliances, while his heart belonged to someone whose bloodline mattered more than her devotion ever could. The penthouse suite that should have been her sanctuary becomes a gilded cage where fairy tales go to die. If you want to see how a woman rises from the ashes of betrayal to claim an empire built on her own terms, stay until the end. Hit that like button and drop a comment with your city so I can see how far this story travels across the world. The reception ended an hour ago, but Vivian still hears phantom laughter echoing through the hotel's marble corridors. She stands before the vanity mirror in the penthouse suite, fingers trembling as she removes the diamond earrings Damien's mother presented to her that morning. The old woman's smile had been brittle, performative. Vivian understands why now. Her reflection stares back at her with eyes that haven't learned to recognize deception yet. 28 years old and still naive enough to believe that a powerful man's silence meant depth instead of indifference. She practiced interpreting Damien's coldness as protection, his distance as strength. For 6 months, she convinced herself that marrying into the Voss family meant finding safety in a world that had always felt too sharp, too unpredictable. The bathroom door opens. Damien emerges in his shirt and dress pants, tie already discarded. He moves past her without touching, without speaking, his attention fixed on the cityscape beyond the glass. Chicago sprawls below them in a grid of neon and shadow, beautiful and brutal in equal measure. Vivian turns from the mirror. "Are you coming to bed?" He doesn't answer immediately, just stands there with his hands in his pockets, shoulders rigid beneath expensive fabric. When he finally speaks, his voice carries no emotion whatsoever. "We need to talk." Something cold crawls up her spine. She knows that tone. She's heard it in movies, read it in books, the prelude to endings. But this is her wedding night. This is supposed to be the beginning of everything. "Okay," she says carefully. Damien crosses to the wet bar and pours 2 glasses of scotch. He hands her one. She takes it because she doesn't know what else to do. The crystal feels heavy in her hand. "Sit down," he says. "I'm fine standing." His jaw tightens, but he doesn't argue. Instead, he reaches into his jacket draped over the chair and withdraws a manila folder, sets it on the marble table between them with the kind of deliberate care that makes her stomach drop. "What is that?" "Divorce papers." The words don't make sense. They're just sounds, syllables strung together without meaning. Vivian's brain refuses to process them into reality. "I don't understand." "I'm filing for divorce. The paperwork is already prepared. My lawyer will contact you tomorrow morning to finalize the details." Now the words land. They hit her chest like physical blows, stealing air from her lungs. She sets the scotch down before her shaking hands betray her. "We got married 6 hours ago." "I know. 6 hours, Damien." The marriage served its purpose. He says it like he's discussing quarterly earnings, not the destruction of her entire world. The ceremony stabilized the alliance with the Calabrese family. Your presence satisfied the council's concerns about my reliability. Vivian's mind races, trying to find purchase on something solid. This doesn't make sense. Why would you go through with the wedding if... Because appearances matter. He finally looks at her directly. His eyes are flat, empty. In our world, perception is everything. The families needed to see commitment. They needed to believe I was capable of building something stable. "So you used me?" "Yes." The casual admission is worse than if he'd tried to lie. At least lies would suggest he cared enough to spare her feelings. This indifference is absolute. "Was any of it real?" Her voice comes out smaller than she wants. "When you proposed, when you said, 'I said what needed to be said.'" Vivian's legs suddenly feel unsteady. She sinks into the chair, wedding dress pooling around her like a white flag of surrender. The diamonds at her throat feel like a collar now, binding her to a humiliation she didn't see coming. "There's someone else," she says. It's not a question. Damien pours himself another scotch. Her name is Elise Marchand. Her family controls shipping routes along the eastern seaboard. The connection between our organizations goes back 3 generations. You love her. That's not relevant. It's relevant to me. He drains his glass. Elise and I have an understanding, but her father refused to allow the marriage unless I first demonstrated stability by taking a wife with no criminal connections. Someone clean, someone like you. The pieces click together with sickening clarity. Vivian was the audition, the test run, the proof of concept that Damien Voss could commit to something beyond violence and territory. And once he passed that test, once the family saw him walk down an aisle and speak vows, he could discard her and pursue the union that actually mattered. "You're a monster," she whispers. I'm practical. He sets the empty glass down. "You'll be compensated generously. The prenuptial agreement includes a settlement that will set you up comfortably for life. You'll also receive a monthly stipend for the next 5 years. I don't want your money. Nevertheless, you'll take it. My lawyers insist." Vivian looks down at her hands, at the wedding ring that suddenly feels like it's burning her finger. She twists it off and sets it on the table beside the divorce papers. "Keep it," Damien says. "I don't want anything from you." "The ring is worth $200,000. Don't be stupid." She stands abruptly, dress rustling. "Get out." "This is my room. Then I'll leave." She moves toward the bedroom, but he steps into her path. Not threatening, just blocking. His presence fills the space between them with unspoken warning. "You need to understand something," he says quietly. "What happened tonight stays between us. You don't talk about it. You don't tell your friends, your family, anyone. As far as the world knows, we discovered we were incompatible and mutually agreed to end things." "Or what?" His expression doesn't change, but something dark shifts behind his eyes. "Or you'll discover that discretion is a survival skill in this world." The threat hangs in the air between them, unambiguous and cold. Vivian realizes with creeping horror that she's not just dealing with a broken heart, she's navigating something far more dangerous. "I understand," she says. "Good." He steps aside. "A car will take you wherever you want to go. Pack what you need. The rest will be delivered to you." She walks into the bedroom on legs that feel disconnected from her body. Her suitcase sits unopened beside the bed, still tagged from the honeymoon they'll never take. She throws it open and starts pulling clothes from the closet, not bothering to fold anything, just stuffing fabric into the bag with shaking hands. Damien appears in the doorway. "Vivian." She doesn't look at him. "For what it's worth," he says, "you deserve better than this." "But not from you." "No, not from me." She zips the suitcase closed and stands, smoothing down the wedding dress one last time. In the mirror across the room, she catches a glimpse of herself, hair still perfect, makeup still flawless, a bride without a groom. The image would be laughable if it wasn't so devastating. When she turns around, Damien is gone. The suite is empty except for the manila folder on the table and the diamond ring glinting under recessed lighting. She leaves both behind. The elevator ride down feels endless. Security guards fill the lobby, but none of them look at her. They've been instructed to ignore her, she realizes. She's already been erased from Damien's world. A black town car idles outside. The driver opens the door without speaking. Vivian slides into the back seat, suitcase balanced on her lap, and gives him an address she hasn't used in 2 years. Her friend Rachel's apartment in Logan Square. As the car pulls away from the hotel, she watches the building recede through the rear window. Somewhere up there, Damien is probably calling Elise Marchand to tell her the obstacle has been removed. Somewhere up there, her fairy tale is being swept away like confetti after a parade. She doesn't cry. The tears won't come. There's just a hollow ache spreading through her chest, numbing everything it touches. Rachel answers the door in pajamas, eyes widening when she sees the wedding dress. "What the hell happened? Can I stay here tonight?" "Of course. Jesus, Vivian, what?" "I don't want to talk about it." Rachel steps aside and Vivian enters the small apartment that smells like coffee and safety. She strips out of the dress in the bathroom, leaving it crumpled on the tile floor like a shed skin, pulls on borrowed sweatpants and a t-shirt. When she emerges, Rachel hands her a glass of wine without comment. They sit on the couch in silence. Rachel doesn't press for details. After 20 minutes, Vivian finally speaks. He divorced me. Tonight? 6 hours after the ceremony. Rachel's face goes pale. That's not possible. He had papers ready, lawyers on standby. The whole thing was planned. Oh my God. Vivian takes a long drink of wine. He used me to prove something to his world. Once I served my purpose, he threw me away. That fucking psychopath. He's not a psychopath, he's just practical. She repeats Damien's word with bitter accuracy. Everything is strategy to him. I was a move on a chessboard. Rachel sets her wine down. You need to report this. Go to the police, tell them what? That a mafia boss tricked me into marrying him? They'll laugh me out of the station. Vivian shakes her head. And even if they didn't, Damien would make sure I regretted it. He made that very clear. He threatened you? Not explicitly, but the message was obvious. Rachel pulls her into a hug. Vivian accepts it mechanically, unable to access the emotion that should accompany this moment. She feels disconnected from her own body, watching her life collapse from a distance. That night she lies awake on Rachel's couch, staring at the ceiling while streetlight filters through the blinds. Her phone buzzes repeatedly, texts from family members asking about the honeymoon, friends sending congratulations. She turns it off without responding. By morning, exhaustion finally pulls her under. She dreams of Damien standing in front of windows overlooking the city, his back always turned, his voice always cold. In the dream, she tries to reach him, but the distance between them keeps expanding until she's running through empty corridors that lead nowhere. She wakes to Rachel shaking her shoulder. Someone's here to see you. Vivian sits up, disoriented. Who? He says he's Damien's lawyer. Her stomach drops. Tell him I'm not here. He knows you're here. He saw you through the window. Vivian stands and moves to the door. Through the peephole, she sees a man in an expensive suit holding a briefcase. He looks patient, unbothered by the wait. She opens the door but leaves the chain on. What do you want? Mrs. Voss. Don't call me that. My apologies. Ms. Hale. He adjusts his glasses. My name is Gregory Chen. I represent Mr. Voss in matters of personal affairs. I'm here to discuss the terms of your separation. I told him I don't want his money. Nevertheless, we have legal obligations to fulfill. May I come in? No. Chen doesn't seem surprised. Then I'll be brief. Mr. Voss has arranged for you to occupy a residence in Wicker Park for the next 6 months while the divorce is finalized. All expenses will be covered. You'll also receive a monthly allowance of $15,000 during this period. I don't want anything from him. I understand your feelings, but I'm afraid this isn't negotiable. The prenuptial agreement you signed includes mandatory provisions. He withdraws a document from his briefcase. Additionally, Mr. Voss has requested that you sign this non-disclosure agreement. It prevents you from discussing the details of your marriage or its dissolution with media, law enforcement, or any third parties. And if I refuse, Chen's expression remains neutral. Mr. Voss is a man of considerable resources and connections. It would be unwise to create conflict where cooperation is possible. The threat is delivered with such professional courtesy that it takes a moment to register. Vivian stares at him, understanding crystallizing into something sharp and clear. I'll sign it, she says. Excellent. He produces a pen. She takes the NDA and scrawls her name across the bottom without reading it. What's the point? She's already trapped. Chen collects the document and hands her a key card. The address for your residence is on the attached card. A driver will be available whenever you need transportation. I'll be in touch regarding the divorce proceedings. He leaves without another word. Vivian closes the door and leans against it, feeling the weight of invisible chains settling around her. What are you going to do? Rachel asks. I don't know, but that's a lie. She knows exactly what she's going to do. She's going to disappear into the apartment Damien's guilt money bought her. She's going to become invisible, insignificant. She's going to survive. The Wicker Park apartment is sterile and expensive, furnished like a hotel room designed by someone who's never actually lived anywhere. Floor-to-ceiling windows overlook a street busy with pedestrians who have destinations and purposes. Vivian stands at the glass for hours that first day, watching people move through their lives while hers sits frozen. Days blur together. She doesn't answer her phone, doesn't respond to messages. Her family thinks she's on her honeymoon in Santorini. Let them think that for a while longer. Let them have their illusions. On the fourth day, she forces herself to leave the apartment, just to the coffee shop on the corner, just to prove she can still function. The barista makes small talk she doesn't hear. She takes her latte to a corner table and tries to read the book on her phone, but the words won't stick. A woman slides into the seat across from her. Mid-50s, well-dressed, with the kind of quiet authority that commands attention without demanding it. "You're Vivian Hale," the woman says. Vivian's guard slams up. "I'm nobody." "That's not true. You're the woman Damien Voss married and discarded in less than a day. That makes you someone very interesting." "I signed an NDA. I'm not asking you to break it." The woman leans back. "My name is Margaret Wolfe. I run a charity organization that provides support services for families affected by violence. We're always looking for volunteers." "I'm not interested in charity work." "That's a shame. We do important work, and we're very well funded." Margaret slides a business card across the table. "If you change your mind, call me." She leaves before Vivian can respond. The card sits on the table, elegant and simple. Vivian picks it up, studies it. Something about the encounter feels off. Too deliberate, too coincidental. She pockets the card and leaves the coffee shop. On the walk back to her apartment, she notices a black sedan parked across the street. The same sedan that was there yesterday and the day before. Damien is having her watched. The realization hits her with cold certainty. Of course he is. She's a liability now. A discarded wife who knows too much. He needs to make sure she stays quiet, stays hidden, stays irrelevant. That night, Vivian stands at her window and watches the sedan. Watches the man behind the wheel who doesn't bother hiding his presence. This isn't protection, it's intimidation. She pulls out Margaret Wolfe's business card and turns it over in her fingers. On the back, handwritten in neat script, are 4 words. "You are not safe." Vivian's heart begins to pound. She looks at the sedan again, then at the card, then at the empty apartment that suddenly feels less like refuge and more like a cage. She picks up her phone and makes a call. Margaret answers on the first ring. "I'd like to volunteer," Vivian says. "Excellent. Come by tomorrow morning, 9 o'clock. I'll explain everything." The call ends. Vivian stands in the darkness, still holding her phone, feeling the first stirrings of something she hasn't felt since her wedding night. Fear. But underneath the fear, something else. Something smaller, but sharper. Anger. The next morning, she dresses carefully. Simple clothes, no jewelry, nothing that screams victim or refugee. She takes a cab instead of using Damien's driver. When she arrives at the address on Margaret's card, she finds herself in front of an unassuming building in West Loop. The sign reads Horizon Outreach. Inside, the space is clean and functional. Women work at desks, moving with purpose. No one looks at her twice. Margaret emerges from an office and gestures for Vivian to follow. They enter a conference room. Margaret closes the door. "How much do you know about Damien's organization?" she asks. "I know it's criminal. I'm not naive." "Good. Naivety gets people killed." Margaret opens a folder. Horizon Outreach is a legitimate nonprofit, but it's also something else. We provide shelter and support for people trying to escape criminal organizations. We help them disappear, relocate, start over. Vivian's pulse quickens. "Why are you telling me this?" "Because you need to understand what you're dealing with. Damien didn't just divorce you, he made you a target. Discarded wives don't remain neutral parties in this world. You know too much. You've seen too much. You're either an asset or a threat, and right now you're definitely a threat." "He's having me followed." "I know. We've been monitoring the surveillance. It's only a matter of time before someone decides you're more trouble than you're worth." The casual delivery of this death sentence makes Vivian's blood run cold. "So what do I do?" "You have 2 options. 1, we help you disappear completely. New identity, new city, new life. You'll be safe, but you'll lose everything. And the second option?" Margaret closes the folder. "You learn how this world actually works. You stop being a victim and become something else, something dangerous." "I'm not a criminal. Neither am I. But I understand how power moves through the shadows. And I can teach you." Margaret's eyes are sharp, assessing. "The question is whether you're willing to become someone Damien Voss would regret underestimating. Vivian's hands are shaking, but she forces them still. What would that look like? It would look like work. Real work. Earning trust, learning systems, understanding leverage. It would mean spending time here, meeting people, proving you're more than a broken bird looking for shelter. And in return? In return, you get a chance to reclaim your life. Not the one you thought you wanted with Damien. The one you didn't know you were capable of building. Vivian stands and walks to the window. Down on the street, people go about their morning routines. Coffee runs and commutes. Normal lives lived by normal people who don't have ex-husbands capable of making them disappear. She thinks about the apartment she's been hiding in, the black sedan watching her movements, the NDA binding her silence, the next 60 years of looking over her shoulder. Then she thinks about Damien's face when he handed her those divorce papers, the emptiness in his eyes, the casual cruelty. She turns back to Margaret. When do I start? Margaret smiles. Right now. The work is exactly what Margaret promised, real and unglamorous. Vivian spends her first week answering phones, organizing files, making coffee. She meets women with haunted eyes and stories they don't tell. She learns how to recognize fear wearing different faces. In the evenings, Margaret sits with her in the conference room and teaches her about the architecture of criminal organizations, how territories get divided, how money moves, how alliances form and fracture. It's not glamorous knowledge. It's practical, detailed, boring, which makes it dangerous. Power isn't loud, Margaret explains. It's quiet. It's knowing which phone call to make and when. It's understanding who owes what to whom. It's recognizing patterns before anyone else sees them. Vivian absorbs it all. She's always been good at patterns, at reading between lines. She just never had reason to develop those skills into weapons before. 3 weeks into her training, Margaret introduces her to someone new. This is Lucian Mercer, Margaret says. The man who enters the conference room doesn't look like a criminal. He's maybe 40, dressed in a charcoal suit with silver threading through his dark hair. His movements are economical and his eyes miss nothing. Ms. Hale, he says, extending his hand, I've heard interesting things about you. His grip is firm but not aggressive. Vivian searches his face for signs of deception, manipulation, anything that would mark him as dangerous. She finds only calm assessment. Margaret speaks highly of your adaptability, Lucian continues, taking a seat. That's a rare quality. I'm a quick learner. So I understand. Tell me, what do you know about your ex-husband's current operations? The question is casual, but Vivian feels the weight behind it. I signed an NDA. Legal documents only matter if you get caught breaking them. Lucian's expression doesn't change. I'm not asking you to violate anything. I'm asking what you observed during your brief marriage. Vivian glances at Margaret, who nods slightly. She takes a breath. Damien's paranoid. He doesn't trust his lieutenants. He uses fear instead of loyalty, which means people follow him because they're terrified, not because they believe in him. Anything else? The families are losing faith in him. I could see it at the wedding, the way the old men looked at him, like they were measuring him and finding him lacking. Lucian's eyes sharpen. You saw all that in one day? I've been reading people my whole life. It's how you survive when you don't have power. Something shifts in the room's atmosphere. Lucian leans forward slightly. Margaret thinks you could be valuable to our organization. I'm inclined to agree, but I need to know if you understand what you're stepping into. Margaret's been clear about the risks. Has she told you what I do? No. I run strategic operations for a coalition of families who believe the old ways are dying. We're trying to build something cleaner, more sustainable, less violent. He pauses. We're not saints, but we're practical, and we need people who understand how to think 3 moves ahead. Vivian's pulse quickens. This is it, the moment where she steps off the edge into something she can't take back. What would you need from me? Initially, just observation. You'll work with Margaret, meet people, learn the landscape. Eventually, if you prove trustworthy, more substantial assignments. And in return? Protection, resources, a future that doesn't involve constantly looking over your shoulder. Lucian stands. But understand this. Once you're in, you're in. There's no going back to your old life. My old life doesn't exist anymore. Then we have an understanding. He leaves without ceremony. Margaret turns to Vivian. Last chance to walk away, she says. Vivian thinks about the hollow apartment and the watching sedan and the divorce papers she never signed. She thinks about Damien's cold eyes and calculated betrayal. I'm not walking anywhere, she says. The next morning, the black sedan is gone. The sedan's absence doesn't bring relief. It brings a different kind of tension, the kind that settles between shoulder blades and stays there. Vivian walks to Horizon Outreach every morning now, taking different routes, watching reflections in shop windows, counting exits. Margaret taught her that, the way prey thinks when it learns to hunt. Inside the building, the work continues, tedious and deliberate. She catalogs donations that never quite add up to what the ledgers claim. She answers calls from numbers that disconnect when she picks up. She watches Margaret handle conversations in languages Vivian doesn't speak, reading tone instead of words. One afternoon, a woman arrives with a black eye and a daughter who won't make eye contact. Margaret handles them personally, disappearing into a back office for an hour. When they leave, the woman's shoulders sit differently, like she's carrying less weight. Where did they go? Vivian asks. Somewhere safe. That's not an answer. Margaret looks at her with those sharp, assessing eyes. You're not ready for those answers yet. When will I be? When you stop asking. That night, Lucien appears at the office just before closing. He doesn't knock, just enters like he owns the space. Maybe he does. Vivian's learning that ownership in this world is more complicated than property deeds. Take a walk with me, he says. It's not a request. Vivian grabs her jacket and follows him onto the street. October wind cuts through the West Loop, carrying the smell of roasting coffee and diesel exhaust. They walk in silence for 2 blocks before Lucien speaks. What do you know about the Calabrese family? Damien married me to satisfy them. Something about proving stability. Partially correct. Lucien's hands stay in his coat pockets, his pace unhurried. Anthony Calabrese controls most of the port operations from Milwaukee to Gary. His organization is old money, old methods. He doesn't trust Damien because Damien's father built the Voss Empire through violence, not diplomacy. So the marriage was supposed to show Damien could commit to something. Exactly. Except Damien filed for divorce before the ink dried on the wedding photos. That tells Calabrese exactly what kind of man he's dealing with. They turn down a quieter street. Streetlights flicker overhead, casting uneven shadows. Why does that matter to me? Vivian asks. Because Calabrese is angry. He invested political capital in supporting that marriage. Made promises to other families that Damien would stabilize. Now he looks like a fool. Good. Lucien stops walking and turns to face her. You misunderstand. Calabrese doesn't blame Damien. He blames you. The words hit like cold water. What? In his mind, you failed to hold your husband's attention. You weren't woman enough, smart enough, valuable enough. Which means the marriage failing is your fault, not Damien's. That's insane. That's how these men think. Lucien resumes walking. Calabrese is looking for someone to punish. You're convenient. Vivian's chest tightens. The surveillance, that wasn't Damien. Damien had you watched for 2 weeks to make sure you stayed quiet. But he pulled his people when you signed the NDA. The sedan you saw after that, Calabrese's men. And now they're gone too. Because I made a call. Lucien glances at her. I told Calabrese you're under my protection now, that you're too valuable to waste on petty revenge. Am I? Valuable? That depends entirely on you. They reach a parking garage. Lucien leads her to a black Mercedes on the 3rd level. He unlocks it and gestures for her to get in. She hesitates. I'm not going to hurt you, he says. If I wanted you dead, you'd already be gone. The logic is sound, even if it's terrifying. Vivian slides into the passenger seat, leather and expensive cologne. Lucien starts the engine and pulls out onto the street. Where are we going? To meet someone who can help you understand what you're really dealing with. They drive south, leaving the polished neighborhoods behind. The streets get darker, emptier, buildings sag with neglect. After 20 minutes, Lucien parks in front of a warehouse with boarded windows. Stay close, he says. Inside, the warehouse is gutted, empty except for metal support beams and concrete floors stained with things Vivian doesn't want to identify. A single light hangs from the ceiling, illuminating a card table where three men sit playing poker. They look up when Lucien enters. One of them, older, with gray stubble and scarred knuckles, sets his cards down. Lucien, didn't expect you tonight. Frank, Lucien's voice carries easy authority. Need to borrow your office. Frank's eyes slide to Vivian. Who's the girl? Someone learning the business? She looks scared. She should be. Frank laughs, a wet sound that rattles in his chest. He stands and gestures toward a door at the back. All yours. Try not to make a mess. Lucien leads Vivian through the door into a smaller room. Metal desk, folding chairs, filing cabinets against the wall. He closes the door and the noise from the card game cuts off completely. Sit, he says. Vivian sits. Her hands are trembling, so she clasps them in her lap. Lucien leans against the desk. Those men out there work for me. They handle problems that require a certain level of discretion. You mean they kill people? Sometimes. Usually they just convince people that cooperation is preferable to resistance. He crosses his arms. I'm telling you this because you need to understand what protection means in this world. It's not passive, it's active, it's violent when necessary. I didn't ask for this. You stepped into Margaret's office. That was asking. His expression doesn't soften. I need to know if you can handle reality. Because if you can't, I need to cut you loose now before you become a liability. Vivian's throat is dry. What do you want me to say? I want you to tell me the truth. Can you operate in a world where violence is a tool, not an aberration? She thinks about Damien's cold dismissal, about the black sedan following her, about Calabrese deciding she deserves punishment for failing to be lovable enough, about every time in her life someone assumed she was weak, disposable, irrelevant. Yes, she says. You sure? I'm sure. Lucien studies her for a long moment. Then he nods. Good. Because I have an assignment for you. He pulls a folder from the desk drawer and opens it. Inside are photographs. A restaurant. A man in his 50s shaking hands with younger associates. More photos of the same man entering an apartment building. His name is Vincent Caruso, Lucien says. He runs book for the Moretti family. They've been skimming from joint operations with my organization for 6 months. I need proof. What kind of proof? Documentation, records, anything that shows money being rerouted. He closes the folder. Caruso keeps physical ledgers at his apartment, old school, paranoid about digital trails. You want me to break into his apartment? I want you to get invited in. Vivian's stomach drops. How? However you can manage it. You're smart, attractive, resourceful. Lucien's tone is clinical. Meet him somewhere public, strike up a conversation, find a way into his space. And if I can't, then you're not as valuable as I thought. The words sting, but Vivian forces herself to think past the emotion. When? He eats at Giovanni's every Thursday night, alone. Always sits at the bar. Lucien hands her the folder. This Thursday, 3 days from now. That's not much time to prepare. Life doesn't provide preparation time. It provides opportunities, and you either take them or you don't. He opens the door. The card game noise floods back in. Frank glances over, grinning around a cigarette. She gonna make it? He calls. We'll see, Lucien says. The drive back to West Loop is silent. Lucien drops her off 2 blocks from Horizon Outreach. Before she gets out, he touches her arm. One more thing, if Caruso suspects anything, he won't hesitate. These men don't call lawyers, they call cleaners. Understood. And Vivian? Don't tell Margaret about this. She thinks I'm bringing you along too fast. She might be right. But I need to know what you're capable of. Vivian nods and exits the car, watches the Mercedes disappear into traffic. Then she walks the 2 blocks to her apartment, folder pressed against her chest like contraband. Inside, she spreads the photographs across her kitchen table. Vincent Caruso has the look of someone who's seen too much and stopped caring. Dead eyes, bitter mouth. The kind of man who treats waitresses like furniture. She studies his patterns. Thursday dinners at Giovanni's. Weekend visits to a woman in Bridgeport who isn't his wife. Morning coffee at a diner on Taylor Street. He's a creature of habit, which makes him predictable. Predictable is vulnerable. Vivienne opens her laptop and searches for Giovanni's. Upscale Italian, old money atmosphere. She reads reviews, studies the menu, memorizes the layout from photos posted by customers. Then she goes through her closet and selects an outfit. Black dress, simple jewelry, nothing too memorable. Thursday arrives faster than she wants. She spends the morning at Horizon Outreach trying to act normal while her stomach churns. Margaret notices. "You look ill," she says. "Didn't sleep well. Take the afternoon off." Vivian does. Goes back to her apartment and forces herself to eat something. Showers. Does her makeup with shaking hands. The woman in the mirror looks like someone else. Someone confident. Someone dangerous. She arrives at Giovanni's at 7:30. The restaurant is warm, dimly lit, expensive. Classical music plays softly. She spots Caruso immediately, sitting at the bar like Lucien said, nursing a scotch, watching a basketball game on the television mounted in the corner. Vivian takes a seat 2 stools away, orders a glass of wine, doesn't look at him, doesn't acknowledge his presence, just watches the game like she's actually interested. 10 minutes pass. Then Caruso speaks. "You follow basketball?" She glances over. "Not really. My brother does. I'm trying to understand what he finds so fascinating." "It's all about momentum. Teams get hot, teams get cold. Whole game can turn on one shot." "Sounds like gambling." He laughs, the sound sharp and brief. "Everything's gambling if you think about it." She takes a sip of wine. "That's a depressing philosophy." "Maybe, but it's honest." He extends his hand. "Vincent." "Anna." The lie comes easily. His grip is firm, professional, not lingering. "You from Chicago, Anna?" "South Side originally, moved downtown last year." "You?" "Born here. Still here. Probably die here." He signals the bartender for another scotch. "You eating alone?" "Wasn't planning to eat at all. Just needed to get out of my apartment." "Rough day?" "Rough month." Something shifts in his expression. Interest, maybe, or calculation. "I hear that. Buy you dinner?" Vivian hesitates just long enough to seem genuine. "You don't have to do that." "I know. I'm offering anyway." She lets him see her debate it. Then she nods. "Okay. Thank you." They move to a table. Caruso orders for both of them without asking what she wants. Saltimbocca and risotto, expensive wine. The food is good, but Vivian barely tastes it. She's too focused on maintaining the performance, smiling at the right moments, asking questions that sound personal but reveal nothing. "So what's causing the rough month?" Caruso asks. "Divorce?" Yeah, that'll do it." He cuts into his veal. "How long were you married?" "Not long enough to matter, but long enough to hurt." "Something like that." He nods like he understands. "My first wife left me after 3 years. Took half of everything and my dignity. Second wife was smarter. She just took the money." "How many wives have you had?" 3. Currently working on staying single." He drains his wine glass. "What about you? Looking to try again, or are you done with the institution?" "I don't know yet. Right now I'm just trying to remember who I was before all of it." "That's smart. People lose themselves in relationships, forget they were whole before someone else showed up." The irony of receiving life advice from a mafia accountant isn't lost on Vivian. She lets the conversation flow naturally, steering it away from anything too specific about her own life. Caruso talks easily once the wine loosens him up. Complains about work without naming names. Mentions an apartment in Little Italy that he's fixing up. Talks about his mother, who still cooks Sunday dinner for the whole family. 2 hours pass. The restaurant empties around them. Finally, Caruso pays the check. Cash, no card. And they walk outside together. The October night is cold and clear. "This was nice," he says. "Unexpected, but nice." "It was. Thank you for dinner. You want to grab coffee sometime? I know a place that makes the real stuff. None of this Starbucks garbage." Vivian pretends to consider it. "I'd like that. But full disclosure, I'm not looking for anything serious right now." "Neither am I. Just coffee. Maybe conversation that doesn't involve lawyers or alimony payments." She laughs. "Okay. Give me your number." They exchange phones. He types his information into her contacts. She does the same with a burner number she picked up yesterday. When he hands her phone back, their fingers touch briefly. "I'll text you," she says. "I hope you do." He hails a cab for her even though she could walk. She lets him because it fits the performance. On the ride back to her apartment, she stares at his contact information. Vincent Caruso. Just a name. Just a man who bought her dinner and made her laugh. Just a target. She texts Lucian. Made contact. He's interested. The response comes immediately. Good. Move fast. Moretti's getting suspicious. Over the next week, Vivian constructs a relationship out of carefully planned spontaneity. Coffee on Saturday. A walk through Millennium Park on Tuesday. Drinks on Friday night that turn into dinner. Each time, she learns more about Caruso's routines, his paranoia, his weaknesses. He's lonely, she realizes, surrounded by criminals but trusted by no one. His wives left because they couldn't handle the secrets. His children don't call. His colleagues are just people waiting for him to make a mistake they can exploit. She almost feels sorry for him. Almost. On the second Friday, after their fourth date, Caruso invites her to his apartment. Just to see the renovation work, he says. I'm proud of it. Want to show someone. Vivian's pulse spikes, but she keeps her expression neutral. I'd love to see it. The apartment is in a converted warehouse. Industrial chic, exposed brick and steel beams, everything meticulously organized, no clutter, no personal photographs, just expensive furniture and empty space. This is beautiful, she says. Cost a fortune, but worth it. Come here. He leads her to the windows overlooking the street. Best view in Little Italy. She stands beside him, close enough to feel his warmth, but not touching. You live here alone? Yeah, tried the roommate thing once, didn't work out. Too used to your own space. Too used to privacy. There, the opening. She turns toward him. I understand that. After my divorce, I just wanted to be somewhere no one could find me. Did it work? Mostly. He looks at her for a long moment. Then he kisses her. It's careful, testing. She responds because she has to. Because this is the job. Because Lucien needs those ledgers, and this is the price of entry. When they break apart, Caruso's expression is uncertain. Sorry, should have asked first. It's okay. You want to stay? I could make us something. I'm a decent cook. This is it. The decision point. She can leave now, regroup, find another way in, or she can push forward into territory that scares her more than any surveillance sedan ever did. I'd like that, she says. He smiles, a real smile, not the practiced one he uses in public, and moves toward the kitchen. While he's pulling ingredients from the refrigerator, Vivian excuses herself to the bathroom. The hallway has 3 doors. Bathroom, bedroom, study. She chooses the study. Inside, it's sparse. Desk, filing cabinet, bookshelf. She moves quickly, searching drawers with hands that won't stop shaking. Nothing in the desk, nothing obvious in the cabinet. Then she spots it, a safe built into the wall behind a framed print. Her heart sinks. She can't crack a safe. That's movie bullshit. She needs the combination or a key or... Looking for something? She spins. Caruso stands in the doorway, arms crossed, expression unreadable. I was looking for the bathroom, she says. Bathroom's the first door. Oh, I must have miscounted. Miscounted. He steps into the room, not threatening yet, just present, filling space. You're a terrible liar, Anna, or whatever your real name is. Vivian's mind races. Deny, run, fight, none of them good options. So she tries the truth. My name is Vivian, and I need your help. My help. He laughs without humor. That's creative. Most people who try to rob me don't bother with conversation first. I'm not robbing you. I'm looking for information. About? The Moretti family. I think they're responsible for my brother's disappearance. The lie is detailed enough to sound plausible. She watches him process it, sees the moment he decides whether to believe her or dispose of her. Your brother, he says slowly. He worked for them. Did collections or something. I don't know exactly, but 3 months ago he stopped returning my calls. His apartment was cleared out. No one knows where he went. And you thought breaking into my study would help you find him? I thought someone in the organization might have records, something that explains what happened. Caruso's jaw tightens. He moves to the desk and leans against it, still watching her. You have any idea how stupid that is? Walking into a made man's home and rifling through his shit? I was desperate. Desperate gets you killed. I don't care. He's my brother. The words hang between them. Caruso's expression shifts, not softening exactly, but recalculating. What's your brother's name? Michael. Michael Hale. Don't know him. Please, if there's anything... I said I don't know him. Caruso straightens. But I'll ask around, discreetly. If he's still breathing, someone knows where. Vivian's relief is genuine because the performance is over and she hasn't been killed yet. Thank you. Don't thank me. Just get the fuck out of my apartment. She moves toward the door, but he blocks her path. Up close, she can see the anger in his eyes mixed with something else. Disappointment, maybe. I liked you, he says quietly. Thought maybe you were real, someone who didn't want anything except company. I'm sorry. No, you're not, but you will be if you ever try something like this again. He steps aside. Vivian walks past him, through the living room, out the door. Her legs barely carry her down the stairs. On the street, cold air hits her face, and she realizes she's crying. She walks 4 blocks before her phone rings. Lucien. What happened? He caught me. Silence. Then, are you hurt? No, he let me go. That doesn't sound like Caruso. I told him I was looking for my brother, that I thought the Morettis had him. Creative. Lucien's tone is unreadable. Did he believe you? I think so. He said he'd ask around. Good. That buys us time. Get somewhere safe. I'll call you tomorrow. The line goes dead. Vivian stands on the corner, shaking, phone pressed against her ear like it might offer comfort. Around her, the city moves through its Friday night rhythms, people laughing, arguing, living. None of them aware that she just barely survived something most of them couldn't imagine. She walks back to her apartment, locks the door, sits on the floor with her back against the wall. The adrenaline drains away slowly, leaving exhaustion in its wake. Her phone buzzes. A text from an unknown number. You're lucky I'm sentimental about siblings. Next time I won't be. Caruso. Warning her. Or maybe protecting her. Hard to tell the difference in this world. She texts back. Thank you. No response. The next morning, Margaret calls her into the office. Lucien is already there, expression grim. We have a problem, he says. Vivian's stomach drops. What kind of problem? The Morettis know someone's been asking questions about their operations. They don't know who yet, but they're investigating, which means Caruso's probably under surveillance now. I'm sorry, I should have been more careful. Careful doesn't matter anymore. Lucien paces the small office. What matters is containment. We need to move up our timeline. Timeline for what? He stops pacing and looks at her directly. Damien's planning something. We don't know what yet, but intelligence suggests he's been meeting with the Calabrese family, trying to rebuild alliances by offering them something valuable. What could he possibly offer them? Information about my organization, supply routes, safe houses, people under protection. Lucien's expression hardens. Including you. The room tilts slightly. Vivian grips the edge of Margaret's desk. He's going to give me to Calabrese. Not if we move first, but that means accelerating your training, putting you in deeper situations faster than I wanted. I'm ready. No, you're not. But we don't have the luxury of waiting until you are. Margaret, who has been silent until now, finally speaks. This is a mistake, Lucien. She's not prepared for this level of exposure. She survived Caruso. That's more than most rookies manage. She got lucky. Luck is a skill in this business. They argue in tense, clipped sentences. Vivian listens, feeling like a prize being fought over by 2 owners who haven't asked if she wants to be owned at all. Finally, she interrupts. What do you need me to do? Lucien and Margaret both turn to her. For a moment, no one speaks. Then Lucien says, there's a meeting tomorrow night, representatives from 4 families. We're negotiating territory agreements along the lakefront. Damien will be there. You want me to go? I want you to watch, see how these meetings work, learn the players. And if Damien sees me, he won't. You'll be working service, coat check, invisible. Margaret shakes her head. This is reckless. This is necessary. Lucien's tone allows no argument. Vivian? She thinks about the black sedan, about Caruso's disappointed eyes, about Damien's cold dismissal in a honeymoon suite 6 weeks ago, about the woman she used to be, quiet, compliant, easily discarded. That woman is gone. In her place stands someone who chooses danger over invisibility. "I'll do it," she says. Margaret's expression shudders. "Then we better make sure you know what you're walking into." They spend the rest of the day preparing. Margaret drills her on names, faces, family hierarchies. Lucien explains the dynamics, old grudges, current alliances, fault lines waiting to fracture. By evening, Vivian's head aches from absorbing information she can't fully process yet. At midnight, Margaret drives her home. They sit in the car outside Vivian's building, engine running, heat pouring from the vents. "You don't have to do this," Margaret says. "Yes, I do." "Why? What are you trying to prove?" Vivian looks out at the dark street. "That I'm not who everyone thought I was." "And who did they think you were?" "Weak, disposable, someone who breaks when pressure gets applied. And now? Now I want them to be afraid they underestimated me." Margaret is quiet for a long moment. Then she reaches into her purse and pulls out a small canister. Hands it to Vivian. "Pepper spray. If things go bad tomorrow, aim for the eyes and run. Don't try to be a hero." Vivian pockets it. "Thank you." "Don't thank me. Just survive." The meeting takes place in a private room at a steakhouse in River North. Vivian arrives an hour early, dressed in black slacks and a white button-down. Service uniform. She checks coats, pours water, exists only as movement in peripheral vision. The men start arriving at 8. Old power in expensive suits. They greet each other with handshakes and careful smiles. Lucien enters with 2 associates, his expression neutral, controlled. He doesn't look at her. Then Damien walks through the door. Vivian's breath catches. 6 weeks since she's seen him, and he looks exactly the same. Polished, remote, dangerous in a way that doesn't require demonstration. He moves through the room like he owns it, shaking hands, exchanging quiet words. His eyes pass over her without recognition. She's just staff, invisible. The meeting begins. Vivian stays near the bar, refilling glasses, removing empty plates. She listens to fragments of conversation, mentions of percentages, territories, names she recognizes from Margaret's briefings. The men speak in code, dancing around explicit admissions of criminality. Lucien proposes a restructuring of port access. Anthony Calabrese counters with concerns about oversight. Damien argues for maintaining current arrangements. His voice is measured, confident, but Vivian notices the way the other men watch him, with skepticism, with doubt. He's losing them. An hour into the meeting, someone's phone rings. One of Calabrese's men steps out to answer it. When he returns, he whispers something to his boss. Calabrese's expression darkens. "We have a problem," Calabrese says, cutting through the discussion. Everyone stops talking. Lucien leans back in his chair. "What kind of problem?" "My warehouse on Cermak was hit an hour ago. 3 men dead. Shipment gone." The room temperature drops. Men exchange glances, calculating. Damien's face remains impassive, but Vivian sees his hand tighten around his water glass. "Who?" someone asks. "Don't know yet, but someone knew exactly when the shipment was arriving. Someone with access to schedules." Lucien's voice stays calm. "You think someone at this table sold you out?" "I think someone in this city is trying to start a war." Calabrese looks around the room, eyes landing on each man in turn. "And I intend to find out who before more blood gets spilled." The meeting dissolves into tense speculation. Vivian continues refilling water glasses, moving through the chaos like a ghost. She's almost to the door when someone grabs her wrist. Damien. He's looking at her now, really looking. Recognition flickers across his face. "Vivian?" She freezes. Every eye in the room turns toward them. Lucien's expression doesn't change, but she feels his attention lock onto her like a spotlight. "What the hell are you doing here?" Damien's grip tightens. She could lie, could play dumb, but something in his eyes, fear maybe, or guilt, makes her reckless. "Working," she says. "Working for who?" "Does it matter?" His jaw clenches. "You signed an NDA. I haven't said anything about our marriage. I'm just pouring water." Bullshit. He pulls her closer, voice dropping. You need to leave. Now, this isn't safe for you. Suddenly you care about my safety? Vivian, Lucian stands. Mr. Voss, I believe you're frightening my employee. Damien's head snaps toward him. Your employee? She works for Horizon Outreach. We provide staff for private events. Lucian's tone is pleasant, professional, completely unthreatening, which somehow makes it more dangerous. Is there a problem? The room watches, waits. Vivian can feel the tension stretched thin, ready to snap. Finally, Damien releases her wrist. No problem. Good. Lucian gestures toward the door. Vivian, why don't you take your break? She doesn't need to be told twice. She walks out of the private room, through the restaurant, onto the street. Her wrist throbs where Damien grabbed it. She's 3 blocks away when footsteps sound behind her. She turns, hand going to the pepper spray in her pocket. It's Damien, alone. Don't run, he says. I just want to talk. We have nothing to talk about. You're working for Lucian Mercer. He stops a few feet away. Do you have any idea what that means? It means I have a job, which I need because my husband divorced me and I have to survive somehow. Lucian is dangerous. So were you. Didn't stop me from marrying you. He flinches. Actually flinches. That was different. How? I was trying to protect you. Vivian laughs, the sound harsh and bitter. By throwing me away? By making me a target for men like Calabrese? That's not protection, Damien. That's abandonment dressed up in noble lies. You don't understand the situation. I understand perfectly. You wanted to marry Elise Marchand, but her father demanded proof you were capable of commitment. So you used me as a test run. Once you passed, you discarded me. Simple. It wasn't like that. Then what was it like? Explain it to me. He runs a hand through his hair, composure cracking. There was going to be a war. The families were fracturing. Marrying you bought time to stabilize things, but keeping you in my life would have made you a permanent target. Divorcing you was supposed to set you free. Free to be hunted by Calabrese? Free to live in fear? That's your definition of freedom? I didn't know he'd come after you. You thought I'd disappear quietly, that I'd take your guilt money and vanish, that I'd stay invisible and irrelevant and safe. She steps closer. But I'm done being invisible. And I'm done being safe at the cost of being powerless. Damien's expression shifts into something she can't quite read. Lucian will use you. He's using you right now. At least he's honest about it. You pretended to love me. I did love you. The words come out raw, unguarded. That's why I had to let you go. Love doesn't work like that. You don't destroy someone to save them. He reaches for her, but she steps back, shaking her head. It's too late, Damien. Whatever you're feeling now, guilt, regret, second thoughts, it doesn't change what you did. You made your choice. Now I'm making mine. Working for Lucien is a death sentence. Maybe, but it's my death sentence to choose. She turns and walks away. He doesn't follow. When she glances back from the corner, he's still standing there, watching her disappear into the city, looking, for the first time since she's known him, completely lost. Vivian's phone buzzes. Lucien, meet me at Horizon, now. She catches a cab. 20 minutes later, she's in Margaret's office with both of them staring at her like she's a bomb that might detonate. That was unbelievably stupid, Margaret says. I didn't know he'd recognize me. You should have anticipated it, Lucien interrupts. Should have had an exit strategy prepared. I did exit. After announcing to every family in that room that you're connected to me. He paces, clearly furious despite his controlled tone. Damien will report this, which means Calabrese now knows you're not just some abandoned wife hiding in an apartment. You're active, you're aligned, you're a target. Vivian's stomach sinks. I'm sorry. Sorry doesn't help. Lucien stops pacing. We need to move you. Tonight. New apartment, new identity if necessary. No. Both of them stare at her. No? Margaret repeats. I'm done running, done hiding, done being shuffled around like a piece on someone else's board. Vivian stands, feeling something crystallize inside her chest. You said I needed to prove I could handle reality. Well, this is me handling it. I made a mistake tonight. I'll live with the consequences, but I'm not disappearing. That's not your decision to make, Lucian says. Yes, it is. You told me once you're in, I'm in. Which means I get a say in how this plays out. The room falls silent. Margaret and Lucienne exchange a look that contains an entire conversation Vivian can't hear. Finally, Lucian nods. All right. You want to stay visible? Then you better become valuable enough that removing you costs more than keeping you alive. How do I do that? By getting me those ledgers from Caruso. By proving you can close an assignment even after it goes sideways. He leans forward. You have 72 hours. After that, Damien and Calabrese will move. And when they do, you better be worth protecting. He leaves without another word. Margaret sits heavily in her chair. You're either very brave or very stupid, she says. Maybe both. Probably both. Margaret pulls out a bottle of whiskey and 2 glasses, pours generously. Here's to not dying before Sunday. They drink in silence. Outside, Chicago glitters with lights and motion and 10,000 stories unfolding simultaneously. Vivian wonders how many of them involve women trying not to disappear. Margaret? Yeah? Thank you for everything. Margaret's expression softens slightly. Don't thank me yet. Thank me if you're still breathing on Monday. Vivian leaves the office near midnight. The streets are cold and empty. She walks slowly, thinking about Caruso's apartment and the safe she couldn't crack, and the 72 hours ticking down like a countdown to some unknown detonation. Her phone buzzes. Unknown number. Your brother's name wasn't Michael, but you already knew that. Caruso. She types back, I know, I'm sorry I lied. The response takes 3 minutes. Everyone lies. Question is whether you lie for something worth the cost. I don't know yet. Figure it out fast. Moretus are asking about you. Told them I don't know anything. Can't do that twice. Her hands shake as she types, What do you want? I want you to stop pretending to be someone you're not. Own what you're doing. Might survive longer that way. The messages stop. Vivian stands on the empty corner, phone glowing in her hand, feeling like she's standing at the edge of something vast and dark. Behind her is the woman she used to be. Safe, quiet, powerless. Ahead is territory she doesn't understand yet, populated by people who kill as casually as they breathe. And somewhere between those 2 points is the person she's becoming. Someone who lies to criminals, who risks her life for ledgers she doesn't fully understand, who stares down her ex-husband in a room full of dangerous men and refuses to flinch. She doesn't know if that person is brave or broken. Maybe it doesn't matter. She walks back to her apartment, mind already working on how to get back into Caruso's life, into his trust, into that study with the safe she couldn't crack. 72 hours, she better make them count. Vivian doesn't sleep. She sits at her kitchen table with Caruso's contact information glowing on her phone screen and a clock in her head counting down hours she can't afford to waste. 72 hours to get ledgers from a man who already caught her breaking into his study. 72 hours before Damien and Calabrese decide she's more trouble than she's worth. The math doesn't work in her favor. At 4 a.m, she texts Caruso, I need to see you. No response. She tries again at 6. Please, I can explain everything. Still nothing. By 7, she's dressed and standing outside the diner on Taylor Street where his morning routine takes him. She orders coffee, she doesn't drink, and watches the door. He arrives at 7:40, same as every day according to the surveillance photos. Sees her immediately. His expression hardens, but he doesn't leave. He slides into the booth across from her. You're persistent, I'll give you that. I need to tell you the truth. Which version? The one where you're looking for your brother, or the one where you're working for someone who wants me dead? Vivian flinches. Neither, both. It's complicated. Uncomplicate it. She takes a breath. My name is Vivian Hale. 6 weeks ago I married Damien Voss. He divorced me the same night. Now I'm working for Lucian Mercer because it's the only way to stay alive in a world where discarded wives become targets. Caruso's eyes narrow. You married Damien Voss? For 6 hours. Jesus Christ. He signals the waitress for coffee. When it arrives, he drains half the cup in one swallow. So Lucien sent you after me. Wanted dirt on the Moretti operation. Yes. And the sob story about your brother was just bait. Yes. He's quiet for a long moment, jaw working. You know what the smart thing to do would be? Call my people. Have them pick you up. Turn you over to the Morettis and let them decide what to do with the spy. I know. But you're sitting here anyway. Either you're stupidly brave or you actually think I won't make that call. I think you're tired of being afraid, same as me. Caruso laughs, bitter and sharp. You don't know anything about me. I know you're lonely. I know you have 3 ex-wives who left because they couldn't handle the secrets. I know your kids don't call. I know you sit at Giovanni's every Thursday, eating alone because trust is a luxury you can't afford. She leans forward. I know because I've been there. Different circumstances, same isolation. His expression shifts. Not softening exactly, but recalculating. Even if that's true, what do you want from me? I need those ledgers, the ones in your safe. Lucia needs proof the Morettis are skimming. And in return? I don't know. I don't have anything to offer except honesty, which I realize isn't worth much after I lied to you. It's worth nothing. Then kill me. Turn me in. Whatever you need to do. Vivian's hands shake, but she doesn't hide them. But understand that I'm not doing this because I want to. I'm doing it because staying invisible means staying prey. And I'm done being prey. Caruso stares at her. The diner noise continues around them. Plates clattering, conversations overlapping, the hiss of the griddle. Normal morning sounds in a world that stopped being normal weeks ago. Finally, he says, "The ledgers aren't in my apartment." Vivian's stomach drops. What? You think I'm stupid enough to keep incriminating evidence where I sleep? They're in a safety deposit box at First National, downtown branch. Can you access them? I can. Question is, why would I? Because the Morettis are using you. When this skimming operation collapses, they'll need someone to blame. That someone will be you. His jaw tightens. She's hit something true. You don't know that. I know how these organizations work. I know sacrificial pawns when I see them. You've been doing this long enough to know it too. Caruso drains the rest of his coffee, sets the cup down with deliberate care. Even if I believed you, even if I wanted out, giving you those ledgers would be suicide. The Morettis would know it was me. Not if we make it look like someone else. Lucian's good at that kind of thing. Lucian's good at getting people killed. Maybe. But at least he's honest about what he wants. Can you say the same about your bosses? The question hangs between them. Around them, people continue their ordinary mornings. Reading newspapers, eating eggs, discussing weather and traffic. Vivian envies them so much it physically hurts. I need time to think, Caruso says finally. I have 65 hours. Then you better hope I think fast. He stands, drops cash on the table. Don't contact me again. If I decide to help, I'll reach out. If you don't hear from me by Saturday, assume the answer is no and stay the hell away from me. He walks out. Vivian sits in the booth for another 10 minutes, watching her coffee go cold, feeling the clock tick down inside her skull. Her phone buzzes. Lucien. Progress? She types back. Working on it. Work faster. She leaves the diner and starts walking. No destination, just movement to keep the panic at bay. Her phone rings. Rachel, her friend, the one whose couch she slept on that first terrible night. Vivian hasn't talked to her in 3 weeks. Where the hell have you been? Rachel demands. Your family thinks you're on your honeymoon. I've been covering for you, but I don't even know where you are. I'm sorry. Everything's complicated. Complicated? Vivian, your mother called me crying because she hasn't heard from you. What am I supposed to tell her? Tell her I'm fine. Are you fine? Because you sound terrible. Vivian stops walking. She's on Michigan Avenue, tourists streaming past with shopping bags and cameras. Normal people doing normal things. She can't remember the last time she felt normal. No, she says quietly. I'm not fine. Then come over. Let me help. You can't help with this. Try me. Rachel, I'm your best friend. You don't get to shut me out because things got hard. The words crack something open in Vivian's chest. For a moment, she considers it, going to Rachel's apartment, sitting on her couch, telling her everything. But then she imagines Rachel's face when she learns the truth, the fear, the judgment, the inevitable distance that would follow. I have to go, Vivian says. Vivian. She ends the call, turns her phone off completely, Stands on the crowded sidewalk feeling more alone than she's ever felt in her life. Saturday morning arrives without word from Caruso. Vivian spends the hours pacing her apartment, checking her phone obsessively even though it's off. At noon, she turns it back on. No messages. By evening, she's desperate enough to go back to the diner. He's not there. She tries the bar at Giovanni's. Not there either. She walks past his apartment building but doesn't go up. Can't risk spooking him. At midnight, her phone finally buzzes. Caruso. Meet me at Millennium Park, southeast corner, 1 a.m. She's there by 12:30, standing in the shadow of the bean sculpture while sparse late-night foot traffic passes by. The temperature has dropped into the 40s. She didn't bring a jacket, didn't think about practical things like warmth. Caruso arrives at 1:15, alone. He doesn't greet her, just gestures for her to follow. They walk south along the lakefront path, away from lights and people. I talked to someone, he says. Someone I trust. Asked them hypothetically what would happen if certain documents went missing from certain locations. And they confirmed what you said. The Morettis have been discussing contingency plans, ways to contain exposure if the skimming gets discovered. My name came up, a lot. Vivian's breath makes small clouds in the cold air. So you'll help? I'll give you copies, not originals. Copies that could have come from anywhere. That way there's deniability. When? Now. He pulls a manila envelope from inside his coat. I made them this afternoon. These show 6 months of transactions, money being rerouted through shell companies, percentages being adjusted on paper, shipments that don't match invoices. Vivian takes the envelope with shaking hands. Why are you doing this? Because you were right. I'm tired of being afraid, tired of waiting for someone to decide I'm expendable. He looks out at the dark water. And because my daughter graduates college next month, I'd like to be alive to see it. Thank you. Don't thank me. Just make sure Lucien understands these came from an anonymous source. My name stays out of it completely. I promise. Promises don't mean much in our world, but I'll take it anyway. He turns to leave, then stops. Vivian, get out while you still can. This life doesn't end well for people like you and me. He disappears into the darkness. Vivian stands alone on the path, envelope pressed against her chest, feeling the weight of what she's holding. Evidence that could destroy the Moretti family. Evidence that makes her valuable. Evidence that makes her a target. She calls Lucien. He answers on the first ring. I have them. The ledgers? Copies. 6 months of documentation. Silence. Then, where are you? Millennium Park. Stay there. I'm sending someone to pick you up. 20 minutes later, a black car pulls up. The driver doesn't speak, just opens the door. Vivian gets in. They drive north, away from downtown, into neighborhoods she doesn't recognize. Eventually, they pull up to a warehouse on the industrial edge of the city. Lucien waits inside with Margaret and 3 men Vivian doesn't know. The space is cold, lit by hanging work lights that cast harsh shadows. Let me see them, Lucien says. Vivian hands him the envelope. He pulls out the documents and spreads them across a metal table, studies them with Margaret looking over his shoulder. Minutes pass. Vivian's heart pounds so hard she's sure everyone can hear it. Finally, Lucien looks up. These are good, really good, detailed enough to prove systematic fraud. Relief floods through her. So I did it. I proved I'm valuable. You proved you can follow instructions. Lucien's expression is unreadable. Now we see if you can handle the next part. What's the next part? We use these to force the Morettis to the negotiating table. Make them understand that continued skimming means exposure. They'll have to accept new terms or risk everything. Margaret folds her arms. And if they don't negotiate? Then we leak the documents to their rivals and let nature take its course. Lucien gathers the papers. Either way, Vivian's involvement ends here. She's done enough. What does that mean? It means you disappear for a while. New apartment, new city, if necessary. Let things cool down before you surface again. No. The word comes out harder than Vivian intended. You said if I proved valuable, you'd protect me, that I'd have a place in the organization. I said I'd keep you alive. That's what I'm doing. By hiding me again? By making me run? By keeping you out of the line of fire when this situation explodes. Lucian's voice stays calm, but there's steel underneath. The Morettis will retaliate. They'll look for whoever leaked these documents. Your name will come up. Damien will make sure of it. Let him. I'm not running anymore. Margaret steps forward. Vivian, be smart about this. I am being smart. Smart means staying visible. Building real power, not hiding in safe houses waiting for someone to decide I'm useful again. This isn't a negotiation, Lucien says. I'm telling you how this works. And I'm telling you I'm done taking orders from men who think they know what's best for me. Vivian's hands clench at her sides. I risked everything to get you those documents. I've earned a seat at the table. The warehouse falls silent except for the hum of the work lights. The three men Vivian doesn't know watch with predatory interest, like they're waiting to see if she gets put in her place. Lucien's expression doesn't change, but something cold enters his eyes. You've earned survival, nothing more. Don't confuse temporary usefulness with permanent value. The words hit like a slap. Vivian feels the ground shift beneath her, realizes she's miscalculated badly, thought proving herself would earn respect, partnership. Instead, she's just proven she's a tool that can be picked up or discarded based on need, just like Damien did. I see, she says quietly. Good. Lucien nods to one of his men. Take her to the South Loop apartment. Make sure she stays there. I'm not a prisoner. You're under protection. There's a difference. Is there? Lucien doesn't answer. The man, tall, silent, with a gun visible under his jacket, gestures toward the door. Vivian looks at Margaret, hoping for support. Margaret's face is carefully neutral. Don't make this harder than it needs to be, Margaret says. Betrayal tastes like copper in Vivian's mouth. She turns and walks toward the door. The man follows. Behind her, she hears Lucien and Margaret talking in low voices, making plans, moving pieces. She's a piece again, just on a different board. The apartment they take her to is in a high-rise with security cameras and a doorman who doesn't ask questions. 2 bedrooms, sterile furniture, windows that don't open. The man who drove her doesn't leave, just stations himself by the door like a guard. I need to make a phone call, Vivian says. No phones. You can't keep me here. I can? I will. He settles into a chair. Mr. Mercer's orders. She tries the door. Locked from the outside. She checks the windows. Sealed. 43 floors up anyway. No escape there. For the first time since Margaret found her in that coffee shop, Vivian feels the full weight of her situation. She traded one cage for another. Damien's control for Lucien's. The only difference is the window dressing. Hours pass. The guard doesn't move. Doesn't speak. Just watches her with dead eyes. Vivian sits on the couch and tries to think. Tries to find an angle she hasn't considered. Comes up empty. At dawn, her guard's phone rings. He answers, listens, hangs up, looks at her. Get your shoes on. Why? You're moving. Where? Somewhere safer. Dread curls in her stomach. What happened? The Morettis hit one of Mr. Mercer's warehouses last night. 3 dead. They're escalating faster than expected. And that means what for me? That means you're a liability Mr. Mercer can't afford right now. The casual delivery makes it worse. Vivian stands slowly, mind racing. Where are you taking me? I don't ask questions, neither should you. He opens the door. Another man waits in the hallway. 2 guards now. That's not protection, that's containment. They take the elevator down to the parking garage. Black sedan, tinted windows, the kind of car people disappear into. Vivian's heart pounds against her ribs. This is it, the moment where being useful ends and being expendable begins. She thinks about Margaret's pepper spray still in her jacket pocket. 2 armed men versus 1 canister of chemical deterrent. The math doesn't work. But staying in the car definitely doesn't work either. They exit the garage onto Lower Wacker Drive, that concrete tunnel that runs under the city like a digestive system. Traffic is light this early, just delivery trucks and cabs. The driver takes them south, away from downtown. Vivian's hand closes around the pepper spray. She estimates distances. 3 feet to the driver, 5 to the man beside her. Windows probably won't break on the first try. She'll get one chance. Where are we going exactly? She asks, trying to keep her voice steady. You'll see when we get there, the man beside her says. I'd like to know now. Doesn't matter what you'd like. That answers the question. They're not taking her somewhere safe. They're taking her somewhere remote, somewhere bodies don't get found quickly. Vivian waits until they're approaching a red light. The driver slows. Almost stopped. She pulls the pepper spray out and sprays directly into his eyes. He screams. The car swerves. The man beside her grabs for her, but she's already moving, spraying him too, then throwing herself against the door. It's locked. Child safety locks. She's trapped. The car crashes into a concrete support column, not fast enough to deploy airbags, but hard enough to slam everyone forward. The driver's cursing, hands over his face. The man beside her reaches for his gun. Vivian doesn't think, just acts. She grabs the man's wrist and bites down hard. Taste blood. He howls and drops the gun. She snatches it up, heavy, unfamiliar, terrifying, and points it at both men. Unlock the doors, she says. You don't know how to use that, the driver gasps, eyes streaming. It's a gun. I point and pull the trigger. Doesn't take a genius. Mr. Mercer will kill you for this. He was going to kill me anyway. This way, I choose how. The man beside her lunges. She pulls the trigger. The gunshot is deafening in the enclosed space. The bullet hits the dashboard. Everyone freezes. Next one goes in flesh, Vivian says, surprised by how steady her voice sounds. Unlock the fucking doors. The driver hits the unlock button. Vivian scrambles out of the car, gun still pointed at them. Traffic has stopped. People are staring. Someone's probably calling the police. She has maybe 90 seconds before this situation gets even worse. She runs. Still wearing her dress clothes from yesterday, heels clicking on concrete, stolen gun gripped in both hands. Behind her, she hears shouting. She doesn't look back. She makes it to street level, emerges onto Michigan Avenue in morning traffic, ditches the gun in a trash can because carrying it makes her too visible, blends into pedestrian flow. Her hands won't stop shaking. Her breath comes in ragged gasps. She just shot at someone, actually pulled a trigger. The reality of it hasn't hit yet, but she feels it coming like a wave building offshore. She needs to disappear, needs money, a phone, clothes that don't make her memorable. She ducks into a department store and heads for the bathroom, locks herself in a stall, sits on the closed toilet lid and tries to stop her hands from shaking. This is what survival looks like now. Pepper spray and stolen guns and escape attempts that almost fail. This is what happens when you try to stop being prey in a world built for predators. She stays in the stall for 20 minutes. When she emerges, she steals a jacket from a shopping bag someone left unattended. Walks out of the store with her head down, trying to look like she belongs. On the street, she realizes she has nowhere to go. Can't go to her apartment. Lucian knows where it is. Can't go to Rachel's. That's the first place they'll look. Can't go to the police. What would she even say? That a criminal organization tried to kill her for stealing evidence of other crimes? She's alone in a city of millions, invisible again. But this time it's the dangerous kind of invisibility, the kind that precedes disappearing permanently. Her only option crystallizes with sickening clarity. The one person who might actually help her. The one person she swore she'd never ask for anything again. She finds a payphone, rare these days, but they still exist in certain neighborhoods. Feeds it coins, dials a number from memory. Damien answers on the third ring. Yes? It's me. Silence. Then, Vivian? I need your help. Where are you? Are you hurt? I'm fine, for now. But Lucien tried to have me killed. I escaped, but I don't have anywhere safe to go. Tell me where you are. I'll send someone. No. No more intermediaries, just you, or I disappear and you never hear from me again. Another silence. She can almost hear him thinking, calculating, deciding if she's worth the risk. Navy Pier? He says finally. North End. 30 minutes. Come alone. I don't exactly have an entourage right now. Vivian, 30 minutes. She hangs up, stares at the payphone, realizes what she just did. She ran from Lucian straight into Damien's arms, from one dangerous man to another. But at least Damien has a reason to keep her alive. Guilt, maybe, or that love he claims he still feels. She walks to Navy Pier, taking indirect routes, watching reflections, counting exits. The habits Margaret taught her are muscle memory now. The pier's mostly empty this early on a Sunday morning. She finds the north end and waits. Damien arrives exactly 30 minutes later, alone like he promised. He's wearing a coat over casual clothes. No suit, no armor. He looks almost human. "Are you hurt?" he asks immediately. "Not really." "What happened?" She tells him. All of it. The ledgers, the warehouse, the locked apartment, the car that wasn't taking her somewhere safe. He listens without interrupting, face growing darker with each sentence. "Lucien was going to kill you," he says when she finishes. "Probably. Maybe just relocate me somewhere I couldn't cause problems. Hard to say. And you came to me. I ran out of options." He looks at her for a long moment. "I could turn you over to Calabrese. He's been asking about you. Thinks you embarrassed him." "I know. But you called anyway. You said you loved me once. I'm betting you meant it, even if you're terrible at showing it." Damien's jaw tightens. "You can't stay in Chicago, not after this. Both Lucien and Calabrese will be looking for you." "I know that too. I can get you out. New identity, new city, enough money to start over somewhere safe. Back to being invisible. Back to being alive." Vivian stares out at the lake, gray water stretching to a gray horizon. She thinks about the woman she was 6 weeks ago. Naive, hopeful, weak. She thinks about the woman she became in those weeks, harder, sharper, more dangerous. And she thinks about the woman Damien's offering her a chance to become, erased, safe, powerless. "What if I don't want to disappear?" she says quietly. "Then you die. Probably painfully, definitely soon. What if there's another option?" "There isn't. What if I know things about Lucicin's organization? Things you could use?" Damien goes very still. "What kind of things?" "Safe houses, supply routes, people under protection. I spent weeks at Horizon Outreach. I know how his operation moves." "You're offering to sell out the man who saved you. The man who tried to have me killed." She turns to face him. "I'm offering information in exchange for something Lucien never gave me. Real power, not protection, not being shuffled around like furniture, actual authority. You want a place in my organization. I want what you promised me when we got married. Partnership. Being valued for what I can contribute, not just tolerated as a convenient prop." Damien's expression is unreadable. The lake wind cuts between them, cold and sharp. Around them, the city wakes up slowly, people starting their Sundays, going to brunch, visiting museums, living ordinary lives. "If I do this," he says carefully, "if I bring you into my world, there's no safety net, no second chances. You burn Lucien, he'll spend the rest of his very short life trying to kill you." "I know. And Calabrese still thinks you're responsible for his embarrassment. Convincing him otherwise will take work." "I'll do the work." "You're sure about this? Because once we start down this road, there's no going back." Vivian thinks about the girl who walked down an aisle 6 weeks ago believing in fairy tales. Thinks about the woman who got discarded in a honeymoon suite. Thinks about every version of herself she's tried on since then. Victim, survivor, spy, fugitive. None of them fit quite right. Maybe it's time to become something else entirely. "I'm sure," she says. Damien pulls out his phone. Makes a call. Speaks in quiet, clipped sentences. When he hangs up, he looks at her with something that might be respect. "All right. Let's see if you can really do this." They leave the pier together. Vivian doesn't look back at the city skyline. Doesn't mourn the life she thought she'd have or the person she thought she'd become. She just walks forward into the only choice she has left, becoming dangerous enough that discarding her is no longer an option anyone can afford. Damien takes her to a penthouse in Gold Coast that doesn't appear in any property records. Safe house. The kind of place where people hide when the entire city is hunting them. Floor-to-ceiling bulletproof glass, reinforced steel door, panic room behind a false wall. He shows her these features like a realtor selling security instead of square footage. "Stay here until I make arrangements," he says. "Don't leave. Don't call anyone. Don't exist for the next 48 hours. "What arrangements?" "You want a seat at the table. I need to convince the families you're worth the trouble. That means proving you can deliver what you promised." He moves toward the door. "I'll be back tomorrow morning. We'll discuss specifics then." "Damien." He stops, hand on the doorknob. "Thank you," Vivian says. His expression doesn't soften, but something shifts in his eyes. Don't thank me yet. What you're about to do will make enemies of people who don't forgive. Make sure you can live with that. I can. We'll see. He leaves. The lock engages with a heavy metallic sound. Vivian walks to the windows and stares out at the city. Somewhere down there, Lucien is searching for her. Margaret is probably making calls, activating networks. The men she escaped from are explaining to their boss how a woman with pepper spray and desperation managed to evade execution. She should feel afraid, should feel something. Instead, there's just hollow determination where emotions used to live. The penthouse has a bedroom, bathroom, kitchen stocked with provisions. Everything needed for extended isolation. She showers, washing away dried sweat and the memory of hands grabbing at her in that car. Changes into clothes Damien left, men's sweatpants and t-shirt, sizes too large but clean. Tries to eat but nothing tastes right. She lies on the bed staring at the ceiling. Doesn't sleep. Just counts the hours until morning when decisions will need to be made that can't be unmade. Damien returns at 7, bringing coffee and pastries she doesn't want. He sits across from her at the dining table. All business now. I talked to the council last night. Told them you have intelligence about Lucien's operation. They're interested but skeptical. What do they need to be convinced? Proof. Something concrete that demonstrates you're not just a desperate woman making promises she can't keep. I can give them addresses. Safe houses where Lucien moves people who are fleeing families. Routes he uses for transporting goods. Names of people working for him under false identities. Damien pulls out a tablet and stylus. Start with the safe houses. Vivian closes her eyes, visualizing the maps Margaret showed her during those training sessions that feel like they happened in another lifetime. There's one in Pilsen, industrial building on 18th Street converted into apartments. Front operation is a printing company, but the top floor is residential. Margaret moves women there when they first arrive. How many exits? 3. Front door, service entrance and back, fire escape on the east side. Security? 2 guards minimum, usually stationed in the printing floor pretending to be employees. Damien types notes. What else? Wicker Park? Residential building? 3rd floor apartment? Used for short-term stays, no visible security, but the building super is on Lucien's payroll. She continues for 20 minutes, pulling every detail from memory. Addresses, layouts, timing of movements, information she absorbed without realizing she was building a weapon that could be used against the people who tried to protect her. When she finishes, Damien studies the notes. This is good, detailed, but I need something bigger, something that proves you understand how Lucien actually operates. Like what? His suppliers, the people who provide him with goods to move. If you can name them, give me proof of transactions. The families can use that to cut off his supply chain. Vivian's stomach tightens. That information wasn't shared with me. I was too new, too unproven. Then we have a problem. Unless I can get it. Damien looks up sharply. How? Margaret keeps files at Horizon Outreach. Physical files because she doesn't trust digital records. They're in her office. Locked cabinet. Vivian's pulse quickens. If I could get back in there. You're insane. Lucien probably has people watching that building. The moment you show your face, he thinks I'm running. Thinks I'll try to leave the city. Hide somewhere remote. He won't expect me to walk back into his operation. Because it's suicide. Maybe. But it's also the only way to get what you need. She leans forward. I know that building. Know the layout, the security, when people are there and when they're not. Margaret works late on Mondays sorting the weekend intake. If I go tonight, around 8, the main floor will be empty. Damien sets the tablet down. And if you're wrong, if Lucien stationed people there waiting for you to do exactly this, then I'm dead and you find another source. That's not a plan. That's a gamble. Everything's a gamble. You said so yourself. Vivian holds his gaze. You want me to prove I'm serious? This is how. I go back into the place that tried to destroy me and take what I need to destroy it first. Damien's quiet for a long moment. She watches him calculate risks, probabilities, acceptable losses. Wonders if he's deciding whether she's worth the investment or just another expendable asset. If I help you do this, he says carefully, if I provide backup and it goes wrong, that's blood in the water. The families will see weakness. Lucienne will gain leverage, so I need to know you're certain. Not hopeful, not confident. Certain. I'm certain. Why? What makes you so sure you can pull this off? Because I have nothing left to lose, and that makes me more dangerous than anyone realizes. Something dark flickers across Damien's face. Recognition, maybe. Or respect. All right, we do this tonight, but we do it my way. You follow my lead, my timing, my exit strategy. Understood? Understood. They spend the day planning. Damien brings in two of his people, men who look ex-military, with scars and dead eyes. They map out the approach, timing, contingencies. Vivian draws the interior layout of Horizon Outreach from memory, marking Margaret's office, exits, blind spots in the security cameras. By evening, the plan is as solid as it's going to get. Damien gives her dark clothes, a comm device that fits in her ear, a small knife that she hopes she won't need to use. The weight of it against her ankle feels surreal. They leave at 7:30. Black SUV with tinted windows. Damien drives while his men sit in back, weapons concealed but ready. The streets are busy with Monday evening traffic, normal people heading home from normal jobs to normal lives. Vivian's hands won't stop shaking. She clasps them in her lap, staring out the window, trying to breathe normally. Damien notices. You can still back out, he says quietly. No, I can't. You're scared. Of course I'm scared. Only an idiot wouldn't be. Fear keeps you alive. Just don't let it paralyze you. They park 3 blocks away. Damien's men move out first, circling to cover the back exits. Damien and Vivian approach from the west, staying in shadows, avoiding streetlights. The Horizon Outreach building sits quiet, only a few windows lit on the first floor. You see anyone? Damien's voice comes through the earpiece. Negative, one of his men responds. Back is clear. Front? One person visible through window. Can't make out details. Vivian's heart hammers. That's probably the night intake worker. They handle walk-ins until 9. Can you get past them? There's a side entrance, key code access. I know the code. Damien glances at her. You're sure? Margaret made me memorize it. Said emergencies don't wait for front doors. They move around to the side alley. The door is unmarked, metal, designed to blend. Vivian approaches and punches in the code with trembling fingers. The lock clicks open. Inside, the hallway is dim. Emergency lighting only. She leads Damien through corridors she could navigate blind. Past the intake rooms, past the supply closet, toward the administrative offices in the back. Margaret's door is closed. Locked. Vivian pulls out the picks Damien taught her to use during the planning session. Her hands shake so badly the first attempt fails. She forces herself to breathe, tries again. The lock gives on the 3rd try. The office is dark. She doesn't risk turning on lights, just uses the pen light Damien handed her, sweeping it across the space. Desk, filing cabinets, bookshelf. Everything exactly where she remembers. The locked cabinet is behind Margaret's desk. Heavy steel, combination lock. Vivian kneels in front of it, shining the light on the dial. Margaret showed her how to open it once during training. Said emergencies might require access when she wasn't available. Vivian tries to remember the sequence. Numbers that seemed arbitrary then, but mattered desperately now. She tries. The lock doesn't budge. Problem? Damien whispers from the doorway where he's keeping watch. The combination isn't working. She changed it. Probably. Vivian tries again, different numbers. Still nothing. Panic rises in her throat. Damien moves to her side. Can you force it? Not without tools we don't have. Then we need to leave. Now. Wait. Vivian closes her eyes, thinking. Margaret was paranoid about digital security, but sentimental about personal history. The combination had to be meaningful. Birth date? No, too obvious. Anniversary? She was divorced. Then Vivian remembers. A photograph on Margaret's desk. Her daughter. Margaret rarely talked about her, but Vivian saw her glance at that photo during difficult conversations, saw the way her expression softened. She checks the photo frame. On the back, barely visible, someone has written a date in pencil. Vivian tries those numbers. The lock opens. Inside, files organized by color-coded tabs. She searches quickly, pulling folders marked with red. Margaret's system for active operations. Supplier contacts, transaction records, routes. Everything Damien needs. Got them, she whispers. Then move. She stuffs the folders inside her jacket and stands. That's when she hears voices in the hallway. Multiple people, moving their direction. Damien's hand goes to his gun. Through the comm. We have company, 3 people entering through front. Lucien? Vivian breathes. Can't confirm. But they're armed. Damien pulls her behind the desk, turns off her penlight. They crouch in darkness while footsteps approach. The voices get louder. 2 men, 1 woman. The woman's voice is familiar. Margaret. Told you she wouldn't come back here. She's smarter than that. Maybe. A male voice Vivian doesn't recognize. But Lucien wants every location covered. If she surfaces anywhere, we grab her. And if she doesn't surface, then we expand the search, check her known associates, apply pressure until someone gives her up. They're right outside the office now. Vivian's breath catches. Damien's gun is drawn, pointed at the door. Through the frosted glass, shadows move. Then Margaret's phone rings. She answers. What? When? Pause. I'm on my way. The shadows retreat, footsteps moving back down the hallway. Faster now. Urgent. Through the comm. They're leaving, moving to vehicles. Damien stands slowly, listening. The building falls quiet again. After 2 minutes, he signals Vivian to move. They retrace their path through the corridors, past the empty intake rooms, back to the side door. Outside, cold air hits Vivian's face like salvation. They walk quickly, but don't run. 3 blocks back to the SUV. Damien's men are already inside, engines running. What happened? Damien asks as they pull away. Got a call about something, looked urgent. Vivian clutches the folders against her chest, heart still pounding. That was too close. Close doesn't matter. We got what we needed. Back at the penthouse, Damien spreads the files across the dining table. Vivian watches as he photographs each page with his phone, sending them to encrypted contacts. The information flows out into the world, where it will be weaponized against the organization that tried to save her. She should feel guilty, should feel something. Instead, there's just exhausted relief. This is good, Damien says, studying a page of supplier contacts. Really good. The council will be impressed. So what happens now? Now I set up a meeting. You present this information directly to the families. Prove you understand what you're offering and why it matters. When? Tomorrow night. I'll send you details in the morning. He looks at her directly. You did well tonight. That took courage. Or desperation. Sometimes they're the same thing. He leaves her alone with the weight of what she's done. Vivian stands at the windows, watching the city lights blur together. Thinks about Margaret's face when she discovers the files are gone. About Lucien realizing his organization has been compromised from the inside. About all the people whose lives will be disrupted because she chose survival over loyalty. She waits for remorse that doesn't come. The next evening, Damien arrives with a dress. Black, elegant, severe. The families respond to presentation. Look like someone who commands respect. She changes in the bedroom, studying herself in the mirror. The woman staring back looks harder than the bride who stood in a honeymoon suite 6 weeks ago. Older, dangerous. The meeting is in a private room at a restaurant on the north side. Old Italian place with dim lighting and waiters who know not to remember faces. Damien leads her through the main dining area to a door guarded by 2 men who nod them through without speaking. Inside, 7 men sit around a long table. Vivian recognizes some from the previous meeting, Anthony Calabrese, looking older and angrier than before. Others are new. They all turn to watch as she enters. Gentlemen, Damien says, this is Vivian Hale. She has information about Lucien Mercer's operation that I believe you'll find valuable. Calabrese's eyes narrow. This is the woman who embarrassed me at the Voss wedding. This is the woman who infiltrated Mercer's inner circle and obtained documentation of his entire supply network, Damien corrects. And we're supposed to trust her. Why? She could be feeding us false information, setting a trap. The information has been verified, another man says, older, silver-haired, with the kind of authority that doesn't require volume. I had my people cross-reference the supplier contacts. They're legitimate. Vincent, Calabrese says, You're taking the word of a woman who... I'm taking the word of intelligence that matches what my own sources have been telling me for months, Vincent interrupts. Mercer has been expanding his network aggressively. These documents show exactly how. Vivienne steps forward before Damien can speak for her again. I understand your skepticism, Mr. Calabrese, but I didn't come here to be trusted. I came here to be useful. Whether you believe my motives or not, the information I'm providing gives you leverage against an organization that's been undermining your operations. And what do you want in return? Calabrese demands. Protection, position, the same things any of you would want if you found yourselves discarded and hunted. She wants power, another man says, amused. At least she's honest about it. Power has to be earned, Calabrese says. Information is just the entry fee. Vincent leans back in his chair. Then let's discuss terms. Ms. Hale provides intelligence. We provide protection and a position within the consolidated organization. She reports to Damien, who vouches for her actions. And if her information proves false, if this is some elaborate setup, then she dies, Vincent says simply, along with everyone who vouched for her. The words hang in the air. Vivienne feels the weight of every eye on her. This is the moment. Accept the terms and tie her survival to people who kill as casually as they breathe, or walk away and die alone. I accept, she says. Calabrese's expression remains skeptical, but he doesn't argue further. The men discuss logistics, how to use the information, which suppliers to target first, how to destabilize Lucien's network without triggering open war. Vivienne listens, absorbing the dynamics, understanding who holds real power versus who just talks loudly. Vincent is the anchor. The others defer to him in subtle ways. Calabrese has influence but not control. Damien sits somewhere in the middle, respected but watched. After an hour, Vincent stands. Ms. Hale, I'd like a word. Privately. The room empties except for Vincent and two of his men who station themselves by the door. Vivienne stays seated, forcing herself not to show fear. Vincent studies her with eyes that have seen too much to be fooled easily. You're either very smart or very reckless. I haven't decided which. Can I be both? Usually that combination gets people killed. He sits across from her. I knew your father. The statement lands like a punch. What? James Hale. We worked together briefly in the 90s. Intelligence operations, corporate espionage dressed up as market research. He was good at reading situations, adapting to pressure. You remind me of him. Vivienne's mind races. Her father died when she was 12. Heart attack, her mother said. Sudden. Tragic. But if Vincent knew him, if he worked in intelligence, he didn't die of a heart attack, did he? No. Vincent's expression doesn't change. He got caught between two families trying to expand into legitimate business. Made the mistake of thinking he could play both sides. They made an example of him. Why are you telling me this? Because you're making the same mistake. You think you can navigate this world through intelligence and adaptation. But eventually, everyone has to choose a side. Your father didn't choose fast enough. Don't make his error. I chose. I'm here. You chose survival. That's not the same as loyalty. Vincent stands. Prove your loyalty. Not with information, but with action. Show these men you're willing to do what's necessary when necessary. Then you'll have real power. Until then, you're just another desperate woman trading secrets for breathing room. He leaves. His men follow. Vivienne sits alone in the empty room, feeling like she's been dissected and found wanting. Damien returns. What did Vincent say? He knew my father, said he worked in intelligence. Damien's expression shifts. I didn't know that. Neither did I. Apparently he got killed for playing both sides. And Vincent told you this as a warning. More like a test. He wants to see if I repeat my father's mistakes. Will you? Vivienne stands, smoothing down her dress. I don't plan to, but then again, I doubt my father planned to either. They drive back to the penthouse in silence. Inside, Damien pours 2 glasses of scotch and hands her one. She takes it, drinks deeply, welcomes the burn. What happens now? She asks. Now we wait. The families will use your information to pressure Mercer's suppliers. Cut off his resources, force him to the negotiating table. And if he doesn't negotiate, then things get violent, which is why Vincent wants to see you prove yourself through action, not just intelligence. Damien sets his glass down. There will come a moment when you have to hurt someone who trusted you, when you have to choose between mercy and survival. That's the real test. I've already made that choice. I betrayed Margaret, betrayed everyone at Horizon Outreach. That was information. I'm talking about blood. He looks at her directly. Can you kill someone, Vivian? Not in self-defense? Not in the heat of the moment? Can you make the cold calculation that someone needs to die and then pull the trigger? She wants to say yes immediately, wants to prove she's hard enough, ruthless enough, but the question freezes something in her chest. I don't know, she says quietly. Then figure it out, because that moment is coming. 2 days pass. Quiet days where Vivian paces the penthouse, reading news reports about warehouse fires and missing shipments. Lucien's network fracturing in real time. On the third day, Damien calls. We have a problem. What kind? Lucien grabbed one of our people, guy who handles logistics for the Southside operations. He's been tortured for information but hasn't broken yet. What does that have to do with me? Lucien sent a message. He'll trade our guy for you. Straight exchange. Tomorrow night. Neutral location. Vivian's blood runs cold. That's a trap. Obviously. But if we don't negotiate, he'll kill our man and dump the body somewhere visible. Send a message that we don't protect our own. So what are you saying? I'm saying the families think you should go. Make the exchange. Prove you're worth the protection they're providing. They want to use me as bait. They want to use you to end this situation before it escalates further. There's a difference. Not from where I'm standing. Damien's quiet for a moment. I told them it was a bad idea. Told them you're too valuable to risk. Vincent overruled me. Said this is your chance to demonstrate loyalty through action. By walking into an obvious ambush. By trusting us to have your back. We'll have people positioned around the exchange point. If Lucien tries anything, we respond with overwhelming force. And if your people aren't fast enough, then you die. But at least you die proving you were serious about choosing this life. Vivian sets the phone down, walks to the windows, stares at the city that's become a battlefield she didn't sign up to fight in. Except she did sign up. The moment she walked into Margaret's office, the moment she agreed to spy on Caruso, the moment she chose survival over invisibility. This is what survival looks like now. Walking into traps and hoping the people who claim to have her back actually do. She picks up the phone. What time tomorrow? 8 p.m. Old Warehouse District. I'll send you coordinates. I'll be there. Vivian. What? Don't try to be a hero. If things go bad, you run. Understand? I understand. She spends the next 24 hours preparing, memorizes the warehouse district layout using maps Damien provides, learns the backup extraction points, studies photos of Lucien's known associates so she can identify threats, goes through scenario after scenario with Damien's men who drill her on response protocols. By the time evening arrives, she's as ready as she's going to be. Damien drives her to the exchange point himself. The warehouse district is exactly what it sounds like. Abandoned industrial buildings slowly being reclaimed by weeds and decay. No witnesses, no cameras. Just empty concrete and shadows. My people are in position, Damien says. 4 locations with clear sight lines. Snipers. If Lucien's people make a move, they won't make it far. And if they make a move faster than your snipers can react, he hands her a small pistol. Then you make sure you're not the only casualty. She tucks the gun into her jacket, feels the weight of it against her ribs, steps out of the car into cold October night air that tastes like rust and fear. The meeting point is an open space between 2 warehouses. Floodlight mounted on a pole provides harsh illumination. Vivian walks into the circle of light and waits. 5 minutes later, headlights cut through the darkness. A van pulls up and stops 30 feet away. The door opens. Margaret steps out. Not Lucien. Margaret. Vivian's heart stutters. Beside Margaret, 2 men drag out the captured logistics coordinator. He's beaten badly, can barely stand. They dump him on the ground. Margaret walks forward slowly, stops at the edge of the light. Hello, Vivian. Margaret. Her voice comes out steadier than she feels. I wanted to be the one to do this. Lucien agreed. Said I earned the right after what you did. What I did was survive. What you did was betray everyone who tried to help you, who protected you, who saw potential in you when you were just a broken girl in a wedding dress. You tried to have me killed. We tried to keep you safe. Margaret's voice cracked slightly. Moving you was protection, not execution. But you panicked, hurt my people, stole information, sold us out to the very man who destroyed you in the first place. Damien didn't destroy me. You did, by making me think I had power when I was really just another pawn. And now, you think you have power now, standing in Damien's shadow, doing his dirty work? At least he's honest about what he wants from me. Margaret pulls out a gun, points it at the logistics coordinator's head. Last chance. You for him. Or I pull this trigger and you live with knowing you could have saved him. Vivian's pulse hammers. Behind her, she feels rather than sees Damien's people waiting for her signal. One word and they open fire. But the logistics coordinator will die before they can stop Margaret. Don't do this, Vivian says. You don't get to ask me for mercy. Not after what you took from us. Margaret's hand is steady on the gun. Make your choice. Vivian steps forward. All right, I'll come. Just let him go first. You think I'm stupid? You come here first. Then we release him. Another step. How do I know you'll keep your word? You don't. But that's the gamble. Just like everything else in this life. Margaret's eyes glitter in the harsh light. Come on, Vivian, time to face consequences. Vivian walks across the open space. Every step feels like walking underwater. Slow, disconnected. She passes the beaten man on the ground, keeps moving toward Margaret, 5 feet away. 3. That's when the logistics coordinator moves. Faster than someone beaten that badly should be able to move. His hand comes up with a knife, drives it into Margaret's leg. She screams. The gun fires wild. Vivian's ears ring. Then everything explodes. Gunfire from all directions, muzzle flashes in the dark. Margaret goes down hard. Her men return fire. The night becomes chaos, shouting, running, the wet sound of bullets finding flesh. Vivian drops flat, crawls toward the logistics coordinator who's dragging himself behind cover. Gunfire chews up the concrete around them. She reaches him, grabs his arm, pulls him toward the edge of the light. Can you walk? Barely. His face is bloody, but his eyes are sharp. Where? Just move. They stumble toward the nearest warehouse. Behind them, the firefight continues. Someone screams. Glass shatters. A car engine roars. They make it to the warehouse entrance. The door is chained but rusted. Vivian kicks it. Once. Twice. The chain breaks. They push through into darkness. Inside, industrial debris and shadows. The logistics coordinator collapses against a wall. That was insane, he gasps. Are you okay? Define okay? He coughs wetly. Margaret? I don't know, I think... The warehouse door crashes open. Someone enters. Vivian's hand goes to the gun Damien gave her. She pulls it out, aims toward the sound. A flashlight clicks on, blinding her. Don't shoot, Damien's voice. It's me. Relief floods through her. Is it over? For now, Margaret's people retreated. We're securing the area. Margaret? Wounded but alive. My men are taking her into custody. He moves closer, light lowering. You did good. Stayed calm. Got our guy out. The logistics coordinator waves weakly. Thanks for the rescue. Thank yourself. That knife move bought us the opening we needed. Damien helps the man stand. Let's get you medical attention. They exit the warehouse. Outside, the scene is controlled chaos. Bodies on the ground. None of them Damien's people. Margaret sitting against a wall, hand zip-tied, leg bleeding through makeshift bandaging. She looks up when Vivian approaches. You won, Margaret says flatly. Nobody won. You're alive. I'm captured. That's winning in this world. Vivian crouches down to eye level. I'm sorry it ended this way. No, you're not. You got exactly what you wanted. Power, position, protection. Margaret's laugh is bitter. Just remember, everything you build on betrayal eventually collapses. Might take time, but it always falls. Maybe, but at least I'll be standing when it does. Damien's hand touches her shoulder. We need to move. Police will respond to the gunfire soon. They load into vehicles and disappear into the city. Behind them, sirens wail in the distance. Too late. Always too late. Back at the penthouse, Vivian washes blood off her hands. Not her blood. Margaret's probably, or maybe one of the men who died out there. Hard to tell in the chaos. Damien appears in the bathroom doorway. Vincent called. He's impressed. Said you proved yourself tonight. By surviving? By making hard choices under pressure. That's what this life requires. What happens to Margaret? She'll be traded back to Lucien eventually, part of whatever peace agreement we negotiate. Until then, she's leverage. And Lucien? Lucien Alvin's running out of options. His suppliers are gone. His people are scared. He'll come to the table soon. And when he does, you'll be part of the delegation that determines terms. Vivian dries her hands on a towel, stares at her reflection in the mirror. The woman looking back has blood on her clothes and ice in her eyes. I killed someone tonight, she says quietly. During the firefight, I shot at the men coming after us. I don't know if I hit anyone, but I pulled the trigger. Multiple times. And how do you feel? I don't know. Numb. Distant. Like it happened to someone else. That's normal. It'll hit you later. What if it doesn't? What if I just keep feeling nothing? Damien's quiet for a long moment. Then you'll fit perfectly into this world, which should scare you more than anything else. He leaves her alone with her reflection and her numbness, and the knowledge that she just crossed a line she can never uncross. The phone rings, unknown number. She almost doesn't answer. Then something makes her pick up. Hello? It's Vincent. His voice is calm, measured. I wanted to congratulate you personally. Tonight's performance exceeded expectations. Thank you. There's a council meeting tomorrow night, 8 p.m. Same location as before. Lucien has agreed to preliminary negotiations. Your presence is required. I'll be there. Good. And Vivian, what you did tonight, choosing action over safety, that's what earns real power in our world. Keep making those choices and you'll go far. And if I stop? If I decide this life isn't worth the cost? Then you die. Simple as that. Vincent's tone doesn't change. But I don't think you'll stop. I think you're finally becoming who you were always meant to be. He hangs up. Vivian sets the phone down, walks to the windows, stares at Chicago glittering below like a circuit board of light and shadow. Tomorrow night she'll sit across from Lucien, the man who saved her, the man who tried to kill her. They'll negotiate terms like civilized people while knowing that any of them could order the others dead without blinking. This is her life now. This is what survival costs. She wonders if the woman she used to be, the naive bride in a honeymoon suite, would recognize what she's become. Probably not. Probably better that way. She turns from the window and begins preparing for tomorrow, for the meeting that will either cement her position or destroy her completely. Either way, there's no going back. Only forward into whatever darkness waits beyond the next choice, the next betrayal, the next moment where she has to decide what she's willing to sacrifice to stay alive in a world that eats the weak and rewards the ruthless. And somewhere in the numbness, in the ice where feelings used to live, she realizes she's not scared anymore. She's ready. The restaurant is the same as before, but everything feels different. Vivian walks through the dining room in a charcoal suit Damien provided, expensive and severe, and she moves like someone who belongs in rooms where dangerous men make dangerous decisions. The dress from last time is gone. That version of herself, the one trying to perform femininity as armor, has been stripped away by gunfire and blood. The private room holds more people than last time. Vincent sits at the head of the table, flanked by Calabrese and 4 other family representatives. Damien sits to Vincent's right, and across from the assembled families, alone on his side of the table, sits Lucien Mercer. He looks older than Vivian remembers. Tired, but his eyes are still sharp when they find her entering behind Damien. "Ms. Hale," Lucien says quietly, "I wondered if you'd actually show." "I'm here, so you are." He gestures to the empty chair beside Damien. "Please, sit. Let's discuss how we arrived at this moment." Vivienne takes her seat. Damien's presence beside her is solid, grounding. Across the table, Lucien studies her with something that might be disappointment or might be respect. Hard to tell with him. Vincent speaks first. "We're here to negotiate terms. Mr. Mercer's organization has been significantly disrupted. His supply lines are compromised. His people are frightened. We're offering an opportunity to end hostilities before more blood gets spilled. How generous, Lucian says. And what exactly are these terms? Territory consolidation. You maintain control of your existing operations, but expansion stops. You share intelligence on external threats. You accept oversight on major decisions that affect the broader coalition. So I become a subordinate, stripped of autonomy. You become part of something larger, something sustainable. Vincent leans forward. The old model is dying, Lucian. You know this. Individual operators can't compete with organized networks. Join us or be crushed by the next wave of consolidation. Lucian's jaw tightens. And if I refuse, then your remaining suppliers will receive very convincing offers to work exclusively with us. Your safe houses will be exposed. Your people will be given opportunities to switch allegiances. Within 6 months, you'll have nothing. That's extortion. That's business. The room falls silent. Vivian watches Lucien's face, reading the calculations behind his eyes. He's cornered and knows it. The question is whether he accepts reality or goes down fighting. Before I agree to anything, Lucian says slowly, I want to understand something. His gaze shifts to Vivian. Was any of it real? When you came to Margaret, when you worked at Horizon, were you playing us from the start or did something change? The question lands with unexpected weight. Vivian feels every eye in the room turn toward her. Damien's posture shifts slightly, not quite tension, but awareness. This is a test of her loyalty, of her story, of whether the families can actually trust the woman who betrayed the man who saved her. It was real, Vivian says. When I came to Margaret, I was desperate, lost. You offered me a path forward, and I took it because I didn't have another option. And then you decided I was too much trouble, that keeping me safe was less important than managing your risks, so you tried to make me disappear. We were protecting you were protecting your operation. I was collateral. Vivian's voice stays level. So I made a choice. Same choice you taught me to make. I chose survival over loyalty, just like you would have. Lucien's expression doesn't change, but something flickers in his eyes. Recognition, maybe? Or the bitter acknowledgement that she learned his lessons too well. Margaret believed in you, he says quietly. She thought you had potential, real potential, not just as an asset, but as someone who could lead eventually. Margaret tried to have me killed. Margaret tried to save your life by removing you from a situation you weren't ready to handle. There's a difference. Not from where I was sitting. The conversation pauses. Around the table, men watch with predatory interest. This is theater as much as negotiation. Vivian's performance here determines her future. Lucien's determines his. Vincent clears his throat. Whatever the circumstances of Miss Hale's departure from your organization, she's provided valuable intelligence that has brought us to this table. That's fact. The question now is whether we can build something productive from this mess, or whether we need to let it burn down completely. Calabrese, who has been silent until now, speaks up. I want to hear her say it, directly, no dancing around. He looks at Vivian. Did you betray Lucien Mercer to save yourself, or because you actually believe in what we're building? The question is a trap. Admit self-interest and she's just another opportunist. Claim ideological alignment and she's a liar. Vivian takes a breath, feeling the weight of the moment. I betrayed him because he made me realize that loyalty without reciprocity is just slavery. And I've spent enough time being someone's possession. She meets Calabrese's eyes. Do I believe in what you're building? I don't know yet, but I believe in building something where I'm not disposable, where the cost of discarding me is higher than keeping me. That's enough for now. Silence. Then Vincent laughs. A short, sharp sound. That's the most honest thing anyone said in this room tonight. He looks at Lucien. She learned from you. Can't fault her for that. Lucien's expression has gone carefully neutral. No, I suppose I can't. So, Vincent continues. Do we have an agreement? Or do we continue this until one of us is standing on the other's grave? Lucien is quiet for a long moment. His fingers drum on the table, the only sign of internal struggle. Finally, he nods. I accept your terms, with one condition. Which is? Margaret gets released, immediately. No delays, no conditions. That can be arranged. And Ms. Hale and I have a private conversation, 5 minutes. No recording, no witnesses. The request catches everyone off guard. Damien's hand moves toward Vivian's arm, but Vincent raises a finger. You think that's wise? Vincent asks Lucien. I think we both deserve closure. 5 minutes. That's all I'm asking. Vincent looks at Vivian. Your choice. Every instinct screams danger. Private conversation with a man she betrayed. But curiosity wins out, and maybe something else. The need to face him without armor, without audience, without the performance. 5 minutes, she says. The room empties slowly. Damien is the last to leave, pausing at the door. If anything feels wrong, I'll scream. Promise. He nods and exits. The door closes with a soft click. Vivian and Lucien sit across from each other in sudden quiet. You surprised me, Lucien says finally. I didn't think you had it in you. Neither did I. Margaret's devastated. Not because you betrayed the organization, because she actually cared about you. Saw herself in you, I think. The woman she was before this life hardened her. Guilt twists in Vivian's chest, but she doesn't let it show. She'll survive. People like her always do. True. Lucien pours himself water from the pitcher on the table, drinks slowly. I'm not angry, you know. Angry would mean I expected different. I'm just disappointed. I thought we were building something, a different kind of organization, one where intelligence mattered more than brutality. You were. But you still operated like all the others, making decisions for people without consulting them, deciding who lived and died based on convenience. That's not fair, isn't it? You decided I needed to disappear, didn't ask me, didn't give me options, just made the call and expected me to comply. Lucien sets the glass down. You're right, I did make that call, because keeping you in play meant risking everyone else. It was a calculation. And I made a calculation too. My survival versus your organization. I chose me. I know. He leans back, studying her. What happens now? You think Damien will treat you better? That Vincent and Calabrese will see you as anything other than a useful tool? Probably not, but at least they're not pretending otherwise. And that's enough for you, being a tool that's aware it's a tool? It's better than being a tool that thinks it's a partner. The words land hard. Lucien flinches. Actually flinches. For a moment, the mask slips and Vivian sees genuine pain underneath. For what it's worth, he says quietly, I did see potential in you. Real potential. And I'm sorry I didn't handle your situation better. I should have given you choice, even if the outcome was the same. Yeah, you should have. Will you ever forgive me? The question surprises her. She expected anger, threats, posturing. Not this raw vulnerability from a man who built his reputation on control. I don't know, she says honestly. Maybe eventually, but not today. That's fair. Lucien stands, extends his hand. For what it's worth, and I know it's not worth much, good luck. You're going to need it in that world. Vivian stands but doesn't take his hand. I'll make my own luck. Same as always. I believe you will. He lowers his hand without apparent offense, moves toward the door, then stops. One last thing. The information about your father, what Vincent told you. It's true. James Hale was brilliant, but he tried to play multiple sides simultaneously. Learn from his mistake. I plan to. Good. Lucien opens the door. The others file back in, conversations resuming like they never stopped. But something has shifted. The tension is gone. The negotiation complete. The meeting continues for another hour. Terms are formalized. Territories divided. Oversight structures established. Vivian listens but doesn't speak. She's furniture again, present but not participant. Doesn't bother her anymore. She understands now how power actually works. Not through loud participation, but through quiet accumulation of leverage. When the meeting finally ends, the families disperse to their respective vehicles. Damien drives Vivian back to the penthouse in silence. Only when they're inside, door locked, city lights stretching below, does he speak. You did well tonight. Held your ground without being aggressive, Vincent noticed. And that matters why? Because Vincent decides who rises and who plateaus. If he sees value in you beyond information, doors open. Vivian pours herself scotch from the bar, drinks it standing at the window. What doors? Strategy positions? Direct advisory roles? Eventually, maybe, family leadership. I don't want family leadership. Then what do you want? The question stops her. She's been so focused on survival, on proving she's not disposable, that she hasn't thought beyond the immediate fight. I don't know, she admits. 6 weeks ago I wanted safety, belonging, someone to love me. And now? Now I want to never feel powerless again. Whatever that takes. Damien joins her at the window. They stand side by side, not touching, just sharing space. That's a dangerous want. Power is addictive. You'll always need more. Speaking from experience? Always. He turns to face her. I need to tell you something about the divorce. Her stomach tightens. What about it? It wasn't just about Elise. Wasn't just about proving stability to the families. He pauses, jaw working. There was going to be a war, real war, between the families. Marrying you bought time to build alliances, but keeping you close would have painted a target on your back. The kind you don't survive. So you divorced me to protect me. I divorced you to protect both of us. If the families thought I had a weakness, they would have exploited it. You would have been kidnapped, tortured, killed, used as leverage. I couldn't let that happen. So instead you destroyed me emotionally and threw me to the wolves anyway. I gave you clean separation, legal distance. It should have been enough. But Calabrese came after me anyway, because I underestimated his anger, his need for someone to punish. That was my mistake. Damien's expression is raw in a way she's never seen. I've made a lot of mistakes with you, but walking away from you that night was the hardest thing I've ever done. Vivian wants to believe him. Part of her does. But another part, the part that's been forged in the past 6 weeks, recognizes manipulation even when it's wrapped in vulnerability. Does it matter now? She asks. Whether you meant well or not, the outcome was the same. I nearly died multiple times. Learned to survive in a world I never wanted to be part of. Became someone I don't fully recognize. Are you happier now than you were then? The question catches her off guard. What? Before all this, when you were just a woman planning a wedding, were you happy? She thinks back to those days. The nervous excitement, the hope, the belief that marriage would solve her loneliness. I thought I was, but it was fragile, built on fantasy. And now? Now I'm not happy, but I'm not fragile either. I'll take that trade. Damien nods slowly. I understand that, more than you know. He moves toward the door. Get some rest. Tomorrow we start the real work, building your position, making you indispensable. After he leaves, Vivian stands alone at the window. The city pulses below, millions of lives playing out simultaneously. She wonders how many of them involve this kind of transformation. How many people wake up one day not recognizing who they've become? Her phone buzzes. Unknown number. She almost ignores it. Then instinct makes her answer. Hello? It's Margaret. Vivian's hand tightens on the phone. They released you. 2 hours ago, legs bandaged, pride's damaged, but I'm alive. Margaret's voice sounds older somehow, worn. I'm not calling to threaten you, just to say what I should have said before. Which is, you were right about everything. We did try to control you, make decisions for you, treat you like an asset instead of a person. Margaret pauses. I told myself it was protection. Maybe it was. But it was also arrogance, believing I knew better than you what was safe. Why are you telling me this? Because you deserve to hear it. And because, Margaret's voice cracks slightly. Because I did care about you. Not just as an operative, as a person. And I'm sorry I couldn't show that in a way that didn't feel like manipulation. Emotion clogs Vivian's throat. I'm sorry too, for taking the files, for working with Damien, for all of it. Don't be. You did what you had to do. I taught you that. Margaret takes a breath. Will you do me one favor? What? Don't become like them. Don't let this world turn you into something cold and empty. Hold on to whatever piece of yourself still feels things. I'll try. That's all I ask. Margaret pauses. Goodbye, Vivian. I hope you find what you're looking for. The call ends. Vivian sets the phone down and realizes she's crying. Not sobbing, just tears tracking down her face while her expression stays neutral. She lets them fall, lets herself feel the grief for a friendship that maybe could have been something real in a different world. Then she wipes her face and the moment passes. 3 weeks go by. Vivian works with Damien's organization, learning structures, meeting players, slowly building credibility. Vincent assigns her to intelligence analysis, reviewing reports, identifying patterns, advising on strategic decisions. It's not frontline work, but it's visible. And visibility equals value. She's careful, doesn't push too hard, doesn't claim credit she hasn't earned, just shows up, does excellent work, and lets the results speak. Slowly, grudgingly, the old guard starts to accept her presence. Calabrese remains skeptical. During a strategy meeting about port operations, he challenges her analysis. You're suggesting we abandon the eastern routes entirely? I'm suggesting the cost of maintaining them exceeds the profit, especially with increased federal attention. That's short-term thinking. That's reality. We can either adapt now or wait until indictments start landing. And you're suddenly an expert on federal investigation patterns. I'm an expert on reading data and drawing conclusions. You're welcome to ignore the data, but don't be surprised when the FBI shows up. The room goes quiet. Calabrese's face darkens. For a moment, Vivian thinks she's pushed too far. Then Vincent laughs. She's right. Eastern routes are compromised. Time to cut losses and reallocate. He looks at Calabrese. Your pride is offended because a newcomer identified a problem you missed. Get over it. Calabrese glares but doesn't argue further. After the meeting, Vincent pulls Vivian aside. You handled that well. Didn't back down but didn't escalate unnecessarily. Thank you. I'm moving you to the primary strategic council. You'll attend all major planning sessions. Report directly to me and Damien jointly. Her pulse quickens. That's a significant promotion. You've earned it. Just remember, higher visibility means higher risk. People will be watching everything you do, looking for reasons to undermine you. I understand. Good. Vincent's eyes are sharp, assessing. Your father would be proud. He always wanted to build something that mattered, died before he could. Maybe you'll finish what he started. The comment sends chills down her spine. How well did you actually know him? Well enough to recognize his daughter inherited his strengths and hopefully learned from his weaknesses. Vincent pats her shoulder. You're doing fine. Keep it up. He walks away, leaving Vivian standing in the empty conference room with questions she can't quite articulate. That night, she dreams of her father. He's sitting across from her at a kitchen table from her childhood. She's 12 again, before he died, before everything got complicated. You're in trouble, Dreamfather says. I know. Then get out. Walk away. It's not too late. Yes, it is. I'm in too deep. He shakes his head sadly. That's what I thought too, right up until the moment I realized I was wrong. But by then, he gestures vaguely. By then, the choices were made. What happened to you? Vincent said you played both sides. I tried to be smart, tried to use information as currency. But information is only valuable while you're alive to trade it. Once you become more dangerous than useful, he shrugs. They made an example. I won't make your mistake. You already are. Different details, same pattern. You're trying to survive by being valuable. But eventually, Vivian, someone will decide you know too much. And then all that value becomes liability. She wakes sweating, heart pounding. The penthouse is dark except for city lights filtering through windows. She gets up, walks to the bathroom, splashes water on her face, stares at her reflection. The woman looking back is harder than the bride, harder even than the fugitive who escaped Lucian's execution. This woman has blood under her manicured nails, has secrets that could destroy families, has power, real power, for the first time in her life. And she's terrified that her father's dream was a warning. The next day brings a message from Damien. We need to talk. Tonight. Private. She meets him at a restaurant in Greektown. Small place, corner booth, no one listening. He orders wine, but doesn't drink it. Vincent's making moves, he says without preamble. Consolidating power, pushing out the old guard. And Calabrese is pushing back, quietly, building coalition against Vincent's modernization plans. That sounds like internal politics. It is, but it's about to become violent. And when it does, everyone will have to choose sides. Vivian's stomach sinks. You're saying there's another war coming? I'm saying the peace we negotiated 6 weeks ago is fracturing. Different reasons than last time, but same result. Where do you stand? With Vincent, he's building something sustainable. Calabrese wants to maintain the old ways, which means eventually we all go down. And where do I stand? Damien meets her eyes. That's what I need to know. Vincent's going to ask you to do something difficult, possibly something dangerous. I need to know if you're willing. What kind of something? Calabrese is meeting with representatives from a rival coalition, trying to build external support for removing Vincent. We need proof. Hard evidence that can't be denied. Understanding dawns cold and clear. You want me to spy on him? I want you to do what you do best. Observe, document, report. Damien leans forward. But understand, if Calabrese catches you, he won't hesitate. You embarrassed him once. He won't give you a second chance. So I risk my life to strengthen Vincent's position. You risk your life to protect the organization we're building, which protects you. Does it? Or am I just another pawn being moved around the board? That's always the question in this world. Damien's expression softened slightly. But for what it's worth, I don't want you doing this. I told Vincent you're too valuable to risk. He disagreed. So I don't actually have a choice. You have a choice. You can refuse, probably get demoted or pushed into a nothing position, lose everything you've built, or you can step up and prove you're irreplaceable. Vivian drinks her wine. Tastes nothing. When? 2 days. Calabrese is meeting contacts at a social club in Bridgeport. You'll be there as service staff. Lucien's organization used to own the club. We absorbed it during the merger. Staff there are loyal to us. And what do I need to get? Names, numbers, proof of external backing, anything that proves Calabrese is violating the coalition agreement. What happens to him when you have proof? That's not your concern. It is if I'm the one getting it. Damien's quiet for a moment. He'll be removed, forcibly. Probably won't survive the removal. So I'm helping you kill him. You're helping us eliminate a threat to stability. What happens after is consequence, not intent. The distinction is meaningless and they both know it. But Vivian nods anyway. All right, I'll do it. Are you sure? No, but I'm doing it anyway. They finish the meal in heavy silence. Outside, winter is arriving early. First snow of the season falling in fat, lazy flakes. Vivian watches it accumulate on windshields while Damien pays the check. Thinks about how fast everything can be covered, transformed, made unrecognizable. 2 days later, she's in the social club wearing server uniform. Black vest, white shirt, forgettable face. Calabrese and 3 men she doesn't recognize occupy the back room. She brings them drinks, clears plates, exists in peripheral vision. The conversation is careful at first. Coded language about territories and arrangements. She listens, memorizes, stays invisible. Then Calabrese's phone rings. He steps out to take it. One of the other men looks at her. You're new. Started last week. You know who we are? I know you're important. Beyond that, I don't ask questions. He laughs. Smart girl. Then to his associates, I like this place. Reminds me of the old days before everything got complicated. Complicated is expensive, another man says. That's the problem with Vincent's vision. Too much overhead, too much sharing, which is why we're here, building alternative structures. They continue talking, dropping details like breadcrumbs. Vivian collects every word. When Calabrese returns, the conversation shifts to specifics. Names of families willing to back a move against Vincent, timelines, resources. She's just refilling water glasses when Calabrese's phone buzzes with a text. He reads it, goes very still, looks up slowly, directly at her. Interesting, he says quietly. I just received information that Damien's organization has an operative embedded in my meeting. Vivian's heart stops, forces herself to keep pouring water. More drinks, gentlemen? Stand still. She freezes. Every instinct screaming run, but nowhere to run to. Calabrese stands, moves around the table. Tell me, how long have you been working for Damien? I don't know what you're talking about. Don't insult me. I know your face, know your story. The question is what you're doing here, in this room, right now. I'm serving drinks. You're gathering intelligence. He grabs her wrist, hard enough to bruise. What did you hear? Nothing. I wasn't paying attention. Liar. One of his associates stands. Want me to take care of this? Calabrese studies her face. You've got courage. I'll give you that. Coming into my meeting after what you did at the council. I'm just trying to survive. Aren't we all? He releases her wrist, pulls out his phone, types something. Vincent thinks he's so smart. Sending you, thinking I wouldn't notice, but I've been playing this game since before you were born. Vivian's phone, hidden in her pocket, vibrates. Once. The emergency signal. Damien's people are outside. But getting outside means getting past 4 men who now know she's a spy. Here's what's going to happen, Calabrese says. You're going to tell me everything Vincent plans, every move, every contact, everything. I don't know anything. Then you're worthless. He nods to his associate. Take her to the basement. The man grabs her arm. Vivian doesn't think, just reacts, drives her elbow into his throat. He staggers. She runs. Makes it 3 steps before someone tackles her. Her head hits the floor hard. Stars explode across her vision. Hands drag her up. Someone punches her stomach. Air leaves her lungs in a rush. Stupid, Calabrese hisses. Very stupid. They drag her toward a door at the back. She struggles, but they're stronger. The basement stairs loom ahead, concrete dark, no good options at the bottom. Then gunfire. Loud. Close. The front door crashing open, shouting. Calabrese's men reaching for weapons. More gunfire. Someone screams. The man holding Vivian releases her to grab his gun. She drops, crawls toward cover behind the bar. Glass explodes above her head. Bullets chewing through wood. She recognizes Damien's voice. Down! Everyone down! Calabrese and his people return fire. The room becomes chaos. Vivian stays low, hands over her head, breathing in shallow gasps. Something warm runs down her temple. Blood. She's bleeding, but doesn't remember getting hit. The firefight lasts maybe 30 seconds. Feels like hours. Then silence, except for ringing ears. Vivian! Damien's voice. Here! She crawls out from behind the bar. The room is devastated. Bodies, blood, broken glass everywhere. Damien pulls her up, checking her over. Are you hurt? I don't know. Maybe. We need to move. Police will respond. They run. Out the back exit, into alleys, into a waiting car. Vivian collapses into the back seat, shaking uncontrollably. Damien slides in beside her, pressing something against her head. She realizes it's cloth. He's stopping her bleeding. What happened? He asks. How did Calabrese know? Someone tipped him. Text message. Right before he confronted me. Damien's face darkens, meaning someone on our side is feeding him information. Or Vincent set me up. Vincent wouldn't... He stops. Thinks. No, you might be right. Why would he set me up? To force Calabrese's hand, make him act rashly, give Vincent justification for removing him. Damien pulls out his phone, makes a call. It's me. We have a problem. Call me back immediately. They drive to a different safe house. Medical attention. Stitches in her scalp. Painkillers she refuses because she needs to think clearly. Damien paces while his people secure the perimeter. Vincent calls back an hour later. Damien puts it on speaker. You set her up, Damien says without preamble. I created an opportunity, Vincent corrects. There's a difference. You used her as bait. I used her as leverage. Calabrese exposed his hand, made his move against her in front of witnesses. That's all the justification we need to move against him. She could have died. But she didn't, because you protected her, which demonstrates exactly the kind of loyalty we value. Vincent's voice is calm, clinical. I understand you're upset, but this is how these situations get resolved. Strategic sacrifice, calculated risk. I'm not a sacrifice, Vivian says, finding her voice. I'm a person. You're an operative who signed up for dangerous work. Don't be naive about what that means. I was naive about what it meant. Not anymore. Silence on the line. Then Vincent sighs. Ms. Hale, you've proven yourself repeatedly, but you need to understand something fundamental. In this world, everyone is expendable, including me, including Damien. The question is always whether the cost of losing someone exceeds the benefit. Tonight, the benefit of exposing Calabrese exceeded the risk to you. I made that calculation. And if the calculation had been different, then we'd be having a different conversation. The brutal honesty is almost refreshing. At least Vincent doesn't pretend to care. What happens now? Vivian asks. Now we move against Calabrese. Formally. With counsel support. You'll testify about what you witnessed, the external contacts he's building, his violation of coalition agreements. And then he's removed, permanently. Vincent pauses. After that, your position is secure. You'll have demonstrated loyalty through action, under fire. That's the ultimate test in our world. The call ends. Vivian sits in silence, processing. Damien sits beside her. I'm sorry, he says quietly. I should have seen this coming. Why? Because Vincent is exactly what he claims to be? Someone who makes cold calculations about acceptable losses? Because I've worked with him long enough to know how he operates. I let myself believe he wouldn't use you this way. Why wouldn't he? I'm not family, not blood, just a useful tool. She looks at him directly, just like I am to you. That's not true. Isn't it? You brought me into this world, protected me when it served your interests. But if Vincent had decided I was expendable, would you have fought him? Damien's quiet for a long moment. I don't know. And that's the most honest answer I can give you. The admission hurts more than the head wound. Vivian stands, moves to the window. Snow is still falling, Chicago dressed in white like a bride hiding bruises. I want out, she says. Out? Of this. All of it. I want to disappear. New identity, new city. Start over somewhere no one knows my name. After everything you've built? What have I built? A position dependent on men who see me as expendable. Power that exists only as long as I'm useful. That's not freedom. That's a longer leash, like, you can't just leave. Vincent won't allow it. Not after tonight. You know too much. So I'm a prisoner again. Different cage, same situation. You're protected. I'm controlled. She turns to face him. You said once that I deserved better. You were right. But I'm not going to find better here. Not in this world. Not with these people. Damien stands, moves toward her. Then what do you want? Really want? Strip away everything else. Vivian thinks about the question. Really thinks. About the woman she was. Naive, hopeful, weak. About the woman she became. Hard, calculating, dangerous. About who she might be if she could choose freely, without fear. I want to be someone who doesn't have to choose between power and humanity, she says finally. Someone who can be strong without being empty. Someone who builds instead of destroys. That's not possible in this life. Then maybe I need a different life. There is no different life, not anymore. You're in too deep. Everyone keeps saying that, like it's inevitable, like I don't have agency. She meets his eyes. But I made choices that got me here. Which means I can make choices that get me out. How? Vincent's watching you. The families know who you are. Lucian probably still has people looking. Where exactly do you think you can go that someone won't find you? I don't know yet, but I'll figure it out. Same way I've figured out everything else. Damien's expression is pained. If you run, I can't protect you. I'm not asking you to. Vivian, what? What do you want from me, Damien? You divorced me to protect me, but threw me into worse danger. You brought me into your world, but didn't warn me what it would cost. You protected me just enough to keep me alive, but not enough to keep me whole. Her voice breaks slightly. So tell me, what do you actually want? He's quiet for a long time. When he speaks, his voice is raw. I want to go back to that night, to the honeymoon suite, and make a different choice. Keep you, fight for you, build something real instead of strategic. But you can't. No, I can't. Then let me go. Help me disappear. Give me the one thing you never gave me before, real choice. If I do that, Vincent will see it as betrayal. Probably. I could lose everything. Welcome to my life. Damien laughs, bitter, sharp. You've gotten hard. You taught me well. He walks to his coat, pulls out an envelope, hands it to her. Inside is everything you need. New identity, bank account with $500,000, contacts who can help you relocate anywhere in the world. Vivian takes the envelope with shaking hands. You already prepared this. 3 days ago, after Vincent recruited you for the Calabrese operation. I knew it was a setup, knew he was using you, started planning contingencies. He meets her eyes. I meant what I said that night. I did love you, maybe still do, which means letting you go even though it destroys me. Why are you doing this? Because you were right. You deserve better, and for once, I'm going to give you what you deserve instead of what I need. Tears burn behind Vivian's eyes, but she doesn't let them fall. Thank you. Don't thank me. Just survive. Build something good. Be someone your father would be proud of. What will you tell Vincent? That you ran? That I tried to stop you but failed? He'll be angry, might even come after you, but I'll buy you time, enough to disappear properly. He'll punish you. Punish? Probably, but I've survived worse. Damien moves toward the door. There's a car downstairs. Driver will take you wherever you need to go. After that, you're on your own. Damien, he stops. I did love you too, that night, when I thought we were building something real. Part of me still does. I know. He doesn't turn around. That's what makes this hard. He leaves. The door closes. Vivian stands alone in the safe house with an envelope containing her future and a city outside that suddenly feels like a memory instead of a prison. She opens the envelope. Inside, passport with a new name, driver's license, credit cards, everything perfectly forged. A note in Damien's handwriting. The Seattle contact is most trustworthy. Start there. Build carefully. Don't look back. She packs nothing, just takes the envelope and walks out. The car is waiting. Driver doesn't speak, just drives. They head north out of Chicago. Snow falling heavier now. The city recedes in the rearview mirror, lights fading into white static. Vivian watches until she can't see anything familiar anymore. Then she turns forward and doesn't look back. 3 months later, a woman named Sarah Chen walks into a nonprofit in Seattle that provides legal advocacy for victims of domestic violence. She has excellent credentials, impeccable references, and a quiet intensity that makes her good at her job. No one knows she used to be someone else. Someone who married a monster and became one herself before finding a way back. Sometimes late at night, she dreams of marble floors and gunfire and Margaret's disappointed eyes. Dreams of Damien standing at windows overlooking cities that eat people alive. Dreams of her father sitting at kitchen tables, warning her about choices that can't be unmade. She wakes from these dreams and reminds herself, that woman is gone, that life is over. This is the truth she chooses. Most days she believes it, and on the days she doesn't, the days when old instincts flare and she catches herself calculating exits, reading people like threat assessments, moving through the world like someone hunted, she forces herself to remember something Margaret said once. Hold on to whatever piece of yourself still feels things. Sarah Chen feels things. Grief for who she was. Pride for who she survived becoming. Hope for who she might still become. That's enough. It has to be. In Chicago, Damien sits in council meetings and reports that the asset is lost. Vincent is furious but contained. Calabrese is gone, permanently, as promised. The organization stabilizes. Life continues. Sometimes Damien stands at windows overlooking the city and wonders if she made it, if Sarah Chen is thriving somewhere, if she's happy. He hopes she is. He hopes she never has to be Vivian Hale again, and in quiet moments, in the spaces between violence and strategy and the endless calculations of power, he lets himself believe that helping her escape was the one truly good thing he ever did. Maybe it redeems him. Probably not. But it's something. And in a world where everything is currency and everyone is expendable, something is enough. The snow keeps falling, the city keeps turning, and somewhere far away, a woman who used to be a bride builds a different kind of life on foundations that don't require blood. Not a happy ending, but an ending nonetheless, real, earned hers.